how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Freddy or Not, where my name is Freddy and I am ready to dive into today's topic, which is the Teen Titans, or more specifically the new Teen Titans series from 1980 by Marv, Wolfman, and George Perez. So be sure to like and subscribe, because today we are going over every single issue in this series. Now, our story begins as all good stories do. Before the beginning. That's right, issue 1 is not the first issue. Instead, we start our journey in the pages of DC Presents 26. So, the story starts off with Robin at Star Labs, about to fight some terrorists. But then he turns around and he's at a place called Titan's Tower with Wonder Girl, and he's like, Titans what? What are you talking about? I've never been here before. So Beast Boy starts making fun of him before pointing out that his name isn't Beast Boy anymore, it's Changeling. And then Robin sees Cyborg and Starfire, and Robin is like, who the hell are you people? This doesn't make any sense. And then Kid Flash shows up, and he's like, whoa, Robin, buddy, you okay? You're acting kinda crazy, man. Before, finally, Raven shows up, and Robin is like, oh no, another one? But Raven starts talking about how there's a scientist that brought a dangerous creature to Earth accidentally. So Robin and the Titans head out to stop it, with Robin pointing out that even if he's confused, that's not gonna stop him from helping people. So the Titans start fighting the alien monster thing, right? But just then, bam! Robin is back at Star Labs. At this point, bro thinks he's losing it, right? And since there's nothing physically wrong with him, he starts wondering if this is related to his recent problems with Batman, aka Batman treating him like a kid still. But just then, he cuts back to the fight with the aliens. And now, the Titans are ultimately able to beat it, but it escapes. So, they take off after it, while Robin stays behind to talk to the scientist who accidentally summoned it. And together, they make a plan to destroy the monster thing, right? Afterwards, Cyborg yells at the scientist, saying he always screws everything up, like when he turned him into the cyborg. And now, Robin is like, wait, what's this about? But the scientist reveals that he is Cyborg's father. But then, just then, you guessed it, Robin is back at Star Labs. But now, strangely, confusingly, he's there talking to the exact same scientist as before. And he's thanking Robin for having saved him from the terrorists. In the end, Robin goes home wondering if it was all a dream before it zooms out and reveals that Raven was the one responsible for all this, as she had sent Robin a vision of the future. And like, why does Raven never use these future vision powers again? I feel like that would come in handy, but whatever. With this covered, we finally arrive at issue 1. And right off the bat in this one, they make it clear that Raven is bad, bruh. Because she hasn't even been introduced yet, and Robin's already dreaming about her. More specifically, he's dreaming about the last issue, when Raven teleports into his room and he yells out, hey, you're the girl for my dreams! She then explains that she is an empath and the one causing Robin to have dreams of a new Titans team, before telling him to go make this team. And Robin, who's already mad at Batman for treating him like a kid, sees this as an opportunity to prove himself and agrees. Raven then uses her soul self, oh yeah, she can remove her soul from her body, to lead Robin to Wonder Girl, who they recruit. And brief recap for those unacquainted, Wonder Girl was a baby found by Wonder Woman in a burning building. She was then raised by Wonder Woman's mother and given powers to become Wonder Girl. But Donna is still wondering about who she really is and who her parents are. Now, they also recruit Beast Boy, who's now going by Changeling. I guess it's a better name in the long term because he's not going to be a boy forever, even if in my opinion it is significantly worse and not nearly as iconic as Beast Boy. They also revealed the reason why he changed his name is because there was an old Doom Patrol villain named the Arsenal who mocked the name Beast Boy so much that it ruined it for him. Which is objectively funny. Like, imagine if Batman changed his name because the Joker made too many bat puns. Like, he just said one too many jokes and it drove him batty. Getting back to the plot, at this point Robin and Raven make their first mistake and recruit Kid Flash. Well, actually, he rejects their offer and then immediately changes his mind, which is a warning sign of what's to come, because while he is a speedster, he seems to only want to use his powers to speedrun his tenure with the Titans, so if he isn't quitting, he's whining about wanting to. It's at this point that they introduce Cyborg, who's brooding at how he can't be an athlete anymore due to his father turning him into a cyborg to save his life from an accident that he blames his dad for. Now, Cyborg agrees to join the team after being recruited by Raven because there are others like him there, so he would be, quote, a freak among freaks. With this, Raven says they have to go save their final member. You see, at the start of the issue, we were introduced to Starfire, who had escaped a slave ship run by aliens called the Gordanians. Cutting back to the present, the team arrives at the UN building to fight off the Gordanians. They win, because, they're not going to lose in their first issue. And during the fight, Raven also mentions that separating her soul for more than 5 minutes would subject her to horrors too terrible to speak of. They then find Starfire with a man named Grant, whose relationship is ending due to him fooling around, and who claims that his new friends are gonna help him make a fortune. The Gordanians then burst through his apartment, beat Raven, take Starfire, and create a portal to space that is sucking in the Titans. But Wonder Girl helps them escape. Now, Grant Wilson is upset about the Titans ruining his apartment, even though, as his girlfriend points out, it is his fault due to bringing Starfire here in the first place. I should note, she's not called Starfire yet, as they don't know her name. Now, cutting ahead, the Titans blow up the ship and rescue Starfire, with the Gordanians saying they'll be sending a war fleet to Earth. And Grant Wilson, who is quite possibly the pettiest man alive, is sending an organization known as Hive to destroy the Titans. All while Raven claims that the Titans are the only ones whose power can hope to overcome a growing menace. Trigon. I mean, no spoilers, but the writers literally can't think of anything else to do with Raven, so be ready for a lot of Trigon-related story arcs, alright? Now, some character-focused things that happen in this issue include Starfire being revealed as a princess, Kid Flash being revealed as a simp for Raven, coming out of retirement purely because he didn't want to turn her down, and Changeling's inner monologue revealing that telling jokes is the only thing that keeps him from getting unglued. Also, it's mentioned that Robin likes the Titans because they're a team where he's not overshadowed by Batman. Issue 2. Enter Deathstroke the Terminator, one of the Titans' greatest enemies, who's also a really creepy dude. But we'll get to that later. Now, some of you might recognize him by his other name, Slade. Now, Slade here refuses to kill the Titans for Hive due to them not paying him in advance. But the Hive scans Deathstroke in action and now plans to duplicate his powers and create their own Terminator loyal to them. Now, cutting back to Grant, he vows he will come back to take care of the Titans after his friends, aka the Hive, take care of him by undergoing a surgery to increase his brain capacity to 100% and destroy the new Teen Titans. While this is going on, the Titans are working together to stop some thieves, but it's revealed the thieves are robots. Upon the discovery of which, Starfire starts destroying the robots, also unintentionally destroying their only clues. And Robin is all mad about this, but honestly, I can't blame her, alright? It's a good opportunity to go all out and have some fun, one she's not gonna encounter very often here on Earth. Now, Robin, upset about this, wishes that she could speak English, which could be seen as racist, but at this point Starfire kisses Robin, absorbing his language, although she says she didn't need to kiss him to do that, but it was more enjoyable this way. Which is cool and all, but if the genders were reversed, you know she would be cancelled for sexual harassment. Not that Changeling seems to care, since he immediately is like, "Listen, I know French. How about German? Chinese?" Side note, imagine if that's how everyone learned languages. Do you think more people would sign up for Duolingo? Regardless, while this is going on, Raven is asking a mysterious force for forgiveness and is denied. And Kid Flash wonders if Raven did something to him to make him become a Titan. I'm telling you, bro, she's bad. Afterwards, Wonder Girl explains to Starfire that on Earth you have to wear clothes, which is funny since when we finally see the member of Corey's species, they all have clothes on. Really makes you wonder. Also, there's a nice bit here where Robin has to explain to Starfire that Earthlings can't all shapeshift like Gar, and most, but not all, humans don't have super speed like Kid Flash. Cutting back to Cyborg, who's mad at his dad as per usual, he's trying to get some more information about the robots, leading to a conversation that reveals that the accident that made him a cyborg also killed his mom. At this point, it's revealed Silas Stone, Victor's dad, is actually also dying as a result of the very same accident, but hasn't found a way to tell Cyborg yet. Now, just then, the Ravager arrives, aka Grant Wilson, who wants to make the Titans pay. So, Cyborg hits him with 1,000,000 decibels of white sound, which seems excessive, and Deathstroke arrives and temporarily subdues Cyborg with power dampeners, which seems like something that would come in handy a lot more often than he uses it for, but Deathstroke escapes with Ravager. At this point, Deathstroke reveals to Grant that his brain capacity increased, but is feeding off his body's own energy, so if he keeps using his powers, he'll kill himself. And Grant, at this, says he used to worship the Terminator due to his dad saying he was the best hitman in the country who never failed an assignment once he took it, but now he wants to prove that he's better than him. You may think that this is a bit of an overreaction about his apartment, but it is stated that the Titans were just a catalyst that ignited a flame that was already burning in Ravager. So yeah, he was always just a little unhinged. Which is probably why he's acting so irrationally. Now, Ravager goes off to fight the Titans, but Deathstroke shows up and makes the fight a 7v2. So, they scuffle for a bit, but then Starfire starts blasting, with Robin worried she's gonna kill him. But just then, Grant starts collapsing, due to his powers taking its toll sooner than expected. And Grant, who is dying, asks if they killed the Titans, and Raven projects an illusion that shows the Titans dead, which is nice. This psycho jumps them for no reason and kills himself trying to kill them, and they still go out of their way to make him die at peace. But afterwards, Deathstroke blames the Titans for his death because he took a contract against the Titans, which, no, that is not how this works. Is he seriously mad at them for not allowing themselves to be killed? I mean, Grant could have easily walked out of this alive by not using suicidal powers that aren't even strong enough to finish the job he only accepted out of irrational, petty reasons. But whatever. Then Deathstroke agrees to finish Grant's contract, revealing Grant Wilson was his son, which maybe explains his actions. He must just be irrational due to being a father who really cares about his children. Right. It's also revealed that this was all an outcome the Hive planned from the start to get Deathstroke to accept the contract from them. Some character stuff in this issue includes Starfire mentioning she won't be able to see her family again, and when the Titans suggest getting someone like Green Lantern or Superman to bring her home, she says no, she cannot go home. There's also a point in this one where she just point blank states she doesn't understand mercy and compassion, which damn bruh. Also, Grant mentions an incident involving his father and brother, which is foreshadowing for later. And some fun facts in this one are that the Titans set up Carol with a new apartment, which is nice to see them taking care of their collateral damage. Also, the Titans named Starfire after her Starfire bolts, which is quite confusing since at this point they already know a superhero named Starfire, so they really are just creating unnecessary problems. We also learned that HIVE is an acronym standing for Hierarchy of International Vengeance and Eliminations, and finally, Cyborg is solar powered. Which makes sense. I'm not seeing like a coal engine or like a nuclear combustor in him, so this makes sense. Now, Cyborg's actually wind powered. Issue 3. Enter Mammoth and his sister Shimmer. You might recognize Mammoth from the cartoon, you know, the guy who's like super strong, and Shimmer from the live action show. Shimmer has the power to transmute matter. We're also introduced to Simon and Gizmo, who shocked me due to not being a child, but rather just a really short man with a beard. Also, Dr. Light is back, and he's trying to get his lick back after previously getting stomped out by children. Which is a really sad progression, seeing him go from a powerful supervillain to a joke. Oh boy, man, I really hope they explain his downfall someday in a way that doesn't make him look like a vile monster that I definitely wouldn't feel uncomfortable about seeing next to children. Now, together these villains form the Fearsome Five. The cartoon labeled them the Hive Five, combining both Hive and the Fearsome Five. They also made Brother Blood in charge of Hive Academy and also made Hive and Academy. In hindsight, they really kind of threw everything at the wall and hoped it stuck. Now, the issue turns away to give us some Starfire lore. Starfire states the planet Tamaran from the Vega system is her home. This becomes important later, mainly because, spoilers, they go there. Now, there's something called the Citadel, a blood-hungry race that has been at war with Tamaran for 100 years. And 6 years ago, they attacked Tamaran and dispatched the Gordanians, who are their warrior soldiers and slavers, leading King Meander to negotiate peace by sending Princess Coriander, aka Starfire, into slavery to save Tamaran. And if she returns to Tamaran, all her people will be instantly destroyed. So, she was taken to the Citadel for more than 2 years and then sold as a slave, bartered from world to world for 6 years, which is a crazy dark backstory for this character. Now, Dr. Light wants to beat the Titans, but the others there just want to get money and avoid the Titans, which makes sense. They're just trying to get their bread up. They're not trying to throw hands and get thrown in prison, you know what I'm saying? But while this discussion is going on, Simon uses his psychic powers to reveal that the Titans had arrived. They then start clowning Dr. Light, saying that even the Atom beat him, which is kinda disrespectful. Like, why is the Atom catching strays? Next thing you know, they're gonna kick him off the Justice League, and he'll end up with the Titans, yeah. Yeah. So, the Fearsome Five, in a surprise upset, beat the Titans, and Raven, she just heads out.
Okay, Miss Fritz, I'm about to head out.
But then, it cuts back, and the Fearsome Five are gone, and Dr. Light is saying that something forced them out instead of finishing off the Titans. And it's revealed in an inner monologue that Simon was the one who did so. It's also revealed that he wants to be the leader of the Fearsome Five. So, we then find out where Raven went off to, because she hit feet, right? So, she actually went off to confront Trigon, and here she's yelling at him, saying that he is the one controlling the Fearsome Five, while also claiming that perhaps Trigon fears the group that Raven has assembled. And then she leaves. But after she's gone, Trigon wonders why he didn't just kill Raven, who should be nothing to him. Now, after the whooping they received, Cyborg gets an invitation to something called Titan's Tower. And Changeling finds this place, but they're wondering, hey yo, who built it? But before they can ponder that question further, Changeling exposits his backstory. You know, parents killed, adopted foster mom killed too, hasn't seen his stepdad in over a year as his stepdad looks for his foster mom's killer, and he tells jokes to not be depressed. And brother, don't we all? At this point, Raven arrives with orders, but Robin wants answers. So, Raven explains that she was in the Temple of Azarath and saw a vision of Trigon the Terrible, who had torn an entire universe asunder. And she really recruited Robin to fight this guy. Regardless, she also saw a vision of one of Trigon's demons killing the Justice League, leading to Trigon having a grip on Earth before the vision was replaced with an image of the Fearsome Five. And she states that the Fearsome Five wants the Titans to kill the Justice League. And Raven thinks that not only should they do it, but they have to defeat them too. Which seems difficult, but keep in mind the Titans did do that long ago. Back with the Fearsome Five, it's revealed that Simon was actually just a new name Simon before getting powers due to Trigon. Which, Simon was a guy named Simon, go figure. Now, the Fearsome Five and the Titans fight once again. And the Titans get mopped, alright? Cyborg has his arm blown off by Gizmo, Starfire sent to the center of the Earth. It's bad. So, Kid Flash shows up to help, and Starfire's already free somehow, which is okay. And long story short, all the Titans, sans Raven, is defeated, as Raven dipped out once again, but this time to go visit the JLA. Also in this issue, Kid Flash punches Robin for questioning Raven. And I'm not saying he's a simp, I'm just saying if Raven had a Twitch, you know Kid Flash would be top donor. Also, there's a scene where Starfire states, "Robin, you have said my bloodlust startled you, yet this is our way. From what I've seen, you Earthlings are suspicious of your friends and show compassion for those who hate you. I am sorry, but your way seems so wrong to me." I thought this was important to mention because often in this series, they are going to mention being worried about Starfire's violent tendencies, but it's also important to be able to see things from a more emotion-driven perspective. Issue 4. So, the JLA are off fighting a group of 3 sorcerers at the request of Zatanna, and Raven suddenly appears trying to convince them to let the sorcerers continue doing what they were doing, but the League doesn't listen. So, unable to stop them, Raven turns to Azarath. Here, she approaches her mother, Arella, and the priests of Azarath, seeking their help against the coming of Trigon, but they refuse to help her. And this is not a surprise. Anyone who knows anything about these people have long sold all their stocks in them, alright? They start going on about how there's a will to all, and if Trigon destroys the Earth, that too is willed. They start yapping about how they believe to fight is to degrade oneself. I mean, it's impossible to find bigger bums. I mean, what they're saying is literally, if a demon destroys the universe and I have the ability to stop them, I will refuse to even try, because trying will go against my policy of never doing anything useful ever. Cutting back to the plot, the Titans are fine, and Raven questions how they escaped the Fearsome Five, but no one even knows who the Fearsome Five are. At this point, Raven figures out that Simon wiped their memories and sent them back. It's also revealed that Simon is watching them and still plans to make the Titans defeat the JLA. Here, Dr. Light starts questioning Simon because, he's supposed to be the leader here, but Simon starts backing up his claims, being like, "Bro, Light, step off. I can melt you with a thought, or send you hurtling through space, or banish you to the distant past." And I call cap. Simon is doing none of those things. He never does anything even close to that level, ever. But yeah, it's revealed the Fearsome Five plan on betraying Simon after destroying the Justice League. And who would have guessed this a-hole is unable to inspire loyalty? So, Raven is trying to meet the exposition quota of the issue by giving Trigon's backstory. Basically, some demon worshippers from another dimension called down their particular Satan to mate with a woman of their dark order. And 9 months later, a child of evil was born, Trigon, who instantly slew all around him, including his mother. And what did they expect? He proceeded to rule their world at the age of 1. Which is already crazy, but then he destroyed that world at the age of 6. I was finger painting at the age of 6. He proceeded to rule their entire dimension with a million planets in it by age 30. He had a whole universe to play with as he saw fit, but he wanted more. And then he learned about our universe, and now he's planning on using the JLA to bridge the gulf between dimensions. And once Raven's tale is done, all the Titans instantly believe her immediately with no evidence, even though they haven't believed anything she has said up till now, and then they go off to destroy the Justice League. Which is strange since she warned them about the fearsome 5. Here we also find out that the person who gave them Titan's Tower is spying on them. And who would have guessed? Free real estate came with a catch.
It's free real estate.
So, the Titans come to the Watchtower and they jump the JLA. Starfire fries Wonder Woman, Green Lantern grabs Starfire in turn, and Robin beats Green Lantern due to his stupid weakness. And I mean, if you count All-Star Batman and Robin beating Green Lantern with the color yellow is actually pretty consistent. So, Batman deduces that the Titans are being controlled, and Raven arrives and starts asking Zatanna to not harm the Titans, saying they have to be stopped, but they're being controlled. She then says to stop them before they accomplish their goal, the Justice League must die. And then instantly, all of the JLA age to dust. But when the dust settles, Raven reveals this was all an illusion created by her, since once they accomplish their mission, they snap back to normal. So Raven brings the Titans to partake in a ceremony which might save every living creature on Earth. Trigon, naturally, tries to stop the Titans, but the JLA arrives and starts attacking the sorcerers who are doing the ceremony. The same 3 sorcerers they were attacking earlier. So, the Titans start fighting the JLA, and ultimately the ceremony fails, and Trigon is free. He immediately blasts both the Titans and the JLA and claims that his demon Goron will be the first to arrive, aka the demon Raven saw in a vision killing the Justice League and the Titans. So, Robin starts telling off the Justice League, being like, yo, we're the Titans, not Justice League Jr., and you guys blew it. With this, the JLA tries to retort by claiming that Raven previously arrived with the same story, but they didn't believe her due to Zatanna discovering incredible evil in her. But Raven claims that this is due to her lineage and that evil is not hers. And it goes on to explain that she created the Titans after the Justice League rejected her plea. Zatanna, however, then further reveals that Raven used her powers to make Kid Flash fall in love with her after he originally rejected her offer. And like, I told you, man, Raven is bad. But Raven tries to argue here, saying that she cares for Kid Flash, but she desperately needed his power. The Titans, however, not trusting Raven anymore, abandon her as she desperately tries to convince them to stop Trigon. Issue 5. It's revealed it was Trigon's power that prevented Raven from telling the whole truth. Naturally, Kid Flash tries to quit the team and the others try to stop him. Then, Starfire tries to defend Raven, and Wally responds by saying Starfire doesn't understand human emotions. Starfire in turn says he's wrong, and that Tamaranians are actually controlled by emotions the same way humans are with intellect, and then states that she senses great sorrow in Raven, like she's fighting against her own emotions for some reason. And Gar chimes into the conversation to say it's obvious why Raven made the Titans. It was all just an excuse to meet him. She must have been so embarrassed to ask him on a date and just use this whole Titans thing as a cover. Which is funny because Raven being interested in Beast Boy is something that will never happen. After this, the Titans leave to help Raven who's in trouble. Something that will surely remain consistent in the future, right? And Cyborg takes this time to help Kid Flash realize that he actually does truly care. And Cyborg helped Kid Flash out because he didn't want him to wallow in self-pity. Launching into battle, the Titans are getting whooped by the demon until they work together, right? I mean, it's the whole point of having a team, right? Unfortunately, Trigon takes this moment to make his grand entrance and reveals he is Raven's father.
Search your feelings, you know it to be true.
Simon also pulls up and Trigon dissipates his atoms throughout the light stream for betraying him. Of course, Simon's betrayal was just a misunderstanding, but still, Professor Cranium over here should have been smart enough to figure it out. And then he kills Goron. And honestly, I'm convinced sign him up for the Titans. So far, he's beaten more bad guys than they have. Raven then reveals that she recruited Robin because he has the capacity to lead. And this really shocked me. I mean, I was convinced she recruited him because he was stronger than Trigon. Now, Kid Flash takes this opportunity to say he's quitting as fast as he can after the mission, which is his third time trying to quit so far, twice in one issue, new record. And while Starfire carries Robin to the battlefield, she mentions she loves having Dick near her. Do not take that out of context, oh my god. But the fight against Trigon goes kinda horrendously. Trigon sends Kid Flash spinning into the earth. Cyborg ends up fighting himself.
Stop hitting yourself! Stop hitting yourself!
And Raven just F's off to go find out what the Council of Azarath has decided. Now, they decided to refuse to help since they're pacifists. Now, Trigon goes to Azarath, and Raven brings the Titans there. And, dog, they got folded like lawn chairs. So, with the whole team down, Raven tries to persuade Trigon to spare this dimension, in return for her going with him to rule at his side. Some character moments in this one include when Robin tried to convince Arella and the Council of Azarath to help by saying that Trigon is going to conquer the Earth, and that there's enough power in this temple to destroy Trigon. Of course, they decided to turn their back on the Earth as they believe in peace above all else, leading Robin to say, "Don't they understand? Peace doesn't just happen. You have to work to maintain it, struggle to preserve it." Which acts to show how Azarath's peace is really just complacency. Issue 6. After accepting Raven's deal, Raven goes with him to Trigon's homeworld. While there, a child calls Trigon a monster, and Trigon hits her with the death stare and starts boiling her blood. So, Raven, naturally freaked out by this, uses her emphatic powers to transfer the pain to herself and then expel it. Oh my god, bruh. But Trigon, in return, turns the little girl to ash. Oh my god, bruh. He ain't evil. He's evil. That's crazy. Then, Trigon takes the queen of the planet, Cynthia, as a slave. Oh no, bro, he's still going. And the Zynthians then demand Trigon to leave their planet. So Trigon blows up their planet and claims he has been too lenient, so his horde should increase the number of sacrifices they demand from each planet. Oh lord, bro, he's moving demonic out here. And he ain't even done yet, because then he calls Raven a fool, and he reveals he lied about sparing the Earth, and he just wanted her to get off the Earth so she wouldn't die with the rest of them. And he just keeps monologuing, bro. He goes like, "I spent 20 years trying to invade that dimension. I ain't gonna give it up that easy." Which, like, no duh. I don't know how anyone could look at Trigon and think, "Yep, that's a guy who keeps his promises." Meanwhile, back in Azarath, Starfire is trying to force the priest to help, saying she knows what it feels like to be a prisoner. Donna stops Starfire, but the priests say they are willing to let Trigon take over the universe to preserve this inner peace. Some One Piece type scaling here, bruh. If I leave this desk, I'm finished. Oh, nah, bruh. These guys words fail me in this. There aren't enough words to describe how big a fraud they are. In fact, I don't think they can be considered fraud, because that would imply I had any faith in them to begin with. Orella, Raven's mom, takes this time to tell her life story in hopes that it can persuade the Titans to understand Azarath's decision, saying how her mother abandoned her at birth and she didn't know her father, and as a result, she became a ward of the state, going from uncaring family to uncaring family, and she longed for love. And when she was 18, she embraced the occult out of boredom. She joined a satanic cult and participated in a ceremony to become the bride of Satan. And to her shock, a man embodying her dreams arrived, and she loved him. And for perhaps the first time in her life, she too felt loved, cared for, and wanted. So they were married, but then it was revealed her lover was evil incarnate. Yeah, no duh. So he beats her, uses her, then abandons her. And then the man, Trigon, destroys the cult. And by the end of it all, Orella was pregnant. Later, after being rejected counseling, she decided to just end it all, right? And she took a bunch of sleeping pills and wandered into a dark alley and just waited to die. But fate had other plans, as the priests of Azarath came and rescued her, and they brought her back to Azarath. Here, they taught her a new way of life, one she has never regretted following. But eventually, Raven was born, and she was raised in the peace of Azarath, but her heritage boiled within her with the rage of Trigon, and it was evident that someday Raven would leave the temple. But in Azarath, if you leave, you can never return, because they're just petty like that. But after listening to Orella's story, the Titans decide to finally hurry up and go rescue Raven. But Orella, in a shock decision, decides to go with them, in spite of the fact that she knows she can never return. Because as Cyborg said, above all else, Raven is her daughter. But now, the Titans are motivated to save their friend and confront Trigon. So, how does it go? Not well. They get one shot. It was not close. Meanwhile, Raven escapes her cell due to Orella. So, in return, Trigon feeds the guard to his dog? What the hell? Alright, well, Trigon starts destroying everything until he finds Raven, right? Like, he's just on a rampage. So, Orella decides to cut him off and confront Trigon. And she makes a shield and starts blocking Trigon. But she gets beat, though, because, like, Trigon's like a force of nature, bruh. So, Orella starts weakening Trigon to save Raven, increasing her emphatic powers from simply drawing out pain to tapping to the very core of the soul itself. But she can't hold Trigon long. At this point, Raven and Orella escape and free the other Titans. But Trigon starts breaking through the dimensions to get to Earth. And Changeling steps up and does the job everyone needed. That's right, he's gonna fight Trigon's dog. Place your bets. And while Changeling takes on this harrowing task, the Titans go for the light work and fight Trigon, deciding that this time they have to take things up a notch and try something they haven't done before. And they create a plan that will hopefully take out Trigon. They start by having Starfire use her Starbolts to power up Cyborg, while Donna uses her lasso to sap Trigon's will. Orella and Raven back Donna up by using their powers to weaken Trigon. With the stage set, Kid Flash uses his speed to rip open a doorway to the Netherverse. And here, Cyborg finishes it all by firing the supercharged shot directly into Trigon, launching him into the portal. But once he falls through, Orella goes in after him, sacrificing herself as she can't return anyway, deciding she will guard the bridge to make sure Trigon doesn't return. But now, the people can finally sleep easy at night, because Trigon's dog, was defeated. But with this, we'll never see Trigon again, because as the series has made plenty clear, Arella is more than enough to hold off Trigon all on her own. I really do think we have nothing to worry about. But with this, Trigon is done. The threat of Trigon is over. And I don't say that lightly. Issue 7. In this issue, Kid Flash states that he has to think what's best for him, and he can't do that here. He didn't want powers in the first place, he just wanted a normal life, so Kid Flash leaves. And, I guess he keeps his word at least. So, with the dead weight gone, the real plot of the issue starts when the Fearsome Five break into Titan's tower to use the Dimensional Transporter to bring back Simon. And why? Why would they do that? They don't even like him. So, the Titans are losing at first, but eventually they overpower the Fearsome Five. For instance, Donna was struggling against Mammoth until Changeling joined the fight. And yeah, they outnumber them. So, Cyborg, during this fight, almost dies from a neural disruptor until Raven saves him in spite of him saying he doesn't trust her earlier in that same issue. Boy, I bet he feels silly now. And because of this, Cyborg has a change of heart and learns to trust Raven. But then the Fearsome Five revealed they have Cyborg's dad hostage, and they were able to get him because he was the one who built the tower. Just then, Donna sneaks up from behind, giving the Titans the opportunity to turn the tables and clean house. And when Starfire shot Simon, the text box read, "A cold, harsh, death-like grin crosses Starfire's lovely face as she unleashes her deadly starbolts. She craves violence, does this alien warrior, and that love for blood chills Robin to the marrow." I swear, the more I read, the more Starfire joining the Outlaws makes sense. Afterwards, the Titans question what happened between Cyborg and his father, and he explains the whole story. There was an accident where his parents summoned a monster from another dimension that killed his mom and almost killed him too. But Silas saved his son's life by rebuilding him as a cyborg. It's at this point Silas finally reveals that the radiation from the monster poisoned him and that he is dying. And at this revelation, Cyborg and his dad reconcile, and they spend the next 3 months as father-son quality time together before Silas ultimately dies. Some character moments in this one include Starfire at the start of the issue saying, "You are a fine-looking mother yourself," in response to a stranger calling her a fine-looking mama. Which is such a peak line, it got me completely off guard. Also, during the fight, Robin says the dumbest thing, literally saying he knocked Doctor out like a light, and then he goes on to say that he's been saying one-liners since before Gar was green with envy.
Holy schizophrenia.
Issue 8. This issue covers a day in the lives of the Titans. As opposed to all the other issues. In this issue, we learn that Donna is a photographer, and Starfire swings up to pick up Donna from her job. And here, she gets roped into becoming a model. And yeah, if you have a fashion magazine and a 6'4" golden goddess walks in, you gotta give her a job. So, I'll also take the time to emphasize that Corey is in fact 6'4", which means she is clearing the average height of the WNBA, which is 6 feet and 0.79 inches, in case you were curious. This also makes it really funny whenever Dick is standing next to her, because she is half a foot taller than him. And I very much do not appreciate the revisionist history going on with Starfire's height nowadays. Moving on, this is also the issue that introduces the character Terry Long, who is Donna's boyfriend who works at a college and does archaeology. It is also established that they met a year ago, right after his divorce. He's also 29 and she's still a teenager, so there's definitely an age gap there, and it's heavily speculated that he's a stand-in for the writer Marv Wolfman, so that's something. Wrapping up Starfire's story, she saves a child from getting run over by a horse and then wonders what Dick is up to. Cutting over to Raven, we see that she, in an effort to learn things, ends up stopping revolutionaries from blowing up a school and saving some hostages with her soul self. But it is out 1 second past 5 minutes and she sees some real horrors. She's basically taken to a dimension that is trying to destroy her soul, and she realizes she has to conquer her fears in order to escape. And she does, feeling proud that she succeeded where even those from Azarath had failed. And to think, Raven's fighting for her life while Donna's taking pictures in the park. Cyborg, on the other hand, goes to see his old girlfriend Marcy, and when she sees him, she says that he should have died, which oof! And of course, she tries to backpedal and say, oh no, it's just that my parents wouldn't approve. But hearing enough of this, Cyborg goes to brood in the park. But there, a kid notices his hand, but instead of being scared, is jealous that it's shinier than his, and reveals that he also has a prosthetic. And it is here that Cyborg meets Sarah Sims, a teacher at a special school for kids with prosthetics, and Cyborg decides to hang out and play ball with the kids. The final note in this issue is that there are some toys being given out to Dayton executives in order to kill them. Issue 9. Some executives at Dayton's Industries are being murdered, and Mr. Dayton, Gar's stepdad, is missing. And yet, in spite of this, Gar refuses to take control of the company, claiming he doesn't want the responsibility. Haru could never. We also find out that Steve Dayton is the world's 5th richest man. So, we know it goes Mr. Jupiter, number 1, Steve Dayton, number 5. At this point, it's revealed Dayton Industries have created a self-generating energy course called Promethium. And it was the Hive who hired the puppeteer, a former scientist on the Promethium project, to send toys to kill the execs, as they want to steal the Promethium. But the Hive get pretty mad when the puppeteer failed to kill Garfield, because now the Titans would get involved. And they also revealed that they previously sent Ravager to kill the Titans because they knew the Promethium project was almost complete and didn't want the Titans to interfere when they went to steal it. Again, because of Changeling's connections with the company. Which means all the problems the Titans will ever have with Deathstroke or Hive all links back to Steve Dayton. As if we needed any more reasons to hate the guy. But we'll get to him later. Meanwhile, Cyborg had Raven talk to the kids with prosthetics because they keep hoping for a miracle, and he wants to show them that the only miracle they're ever gonna find is in their own courage. And to this, Raven says Cyborg is well educated and compassionate, but doesn't show this to his friends. Cyborg claims they only think that because he uses slang, and retorts that he might look like a robot, but he doesn't have to talk like one. And what do you mean he didn't appear to be well educated and compassionate? Because he uses slang? Yo, Raven's got some prejudice. At this point though, the puppeteer strikes and starts mind controlling the Titans and turning them against one another. So Raven brings Kid Flash into the fold, but he gets taken over too. Common Wally West L. Okay guys, no, I swear Wally's a good character, I just don't know when that starts. Fast forwarding a bit, at this point, all but 3 of the Titans are taken over, but Robin managed to beat Cyborg by, quote, fighting dirty. Ugh. At least now we know Cyborg kept his, nuts and bolts. Kid Flash, during this fight, goes fast enough to break free and then freeze Starfire, while Raven takes care of Donna. Now, all that's left is the puppeteer and his army of toys. The Titans manage to win because, of course. I don't think anyone was hedging their bets with this one, but the puppeteer manages to escape. But the Hive, claiming they don't accept failure from anyone, which shoots down the puppeteer. And finally, on the other side of town, Deathstroke stole the Promethium. Issue 10. An atom bomb was stolen from the Navy. Bruh. Okay. So, The plot kicks off with Gar calling Robot Man, who's a former member of the Doom Patrol and one of the only ones who are still alive, and he reveals to Cyborg that Robot Man reminds him of his dead stepmom and all his problems, and that Cyborg reminds him of Robot Man, which is kinda why he hated Cyborg for a while. But now that they've become friends, he was able to reach out to Robot Man, and Gar hired him to track his stepdad. And Cliff, aka Robot Man, says he thinks his stepdad Steve Dayton is following Madame Rouge, who's the villain responsible for killing the Doom Patrol. And here Gar reveals that he thinks the other Titans are better trained and educated, and he just kinda goofed around and ended up here. And because of that, he doesn't want to take over Dayton's Industries, on the chance he does something wrong. Basically, he's got imposter syndrome. He's looking at the other Titans and being like, dog, they all work so hard to get here. I'm here by accident. At this point, Cyborg's friend Sarah Sim gets kidnapped. She will be doing that fairly often. And Starfire gets attacked by Deathstroke. She will be doing that fairly often. He literally shoots her out of the sky and comments on how his brain power increased 90% and his senses increased 1,000-fold. So Starfire was like,
I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
and they go back and forth for a bit. Slade manages to knock her head into a window display and knocks her out. But Slade is like, I need her to pass a message to the Titans. And is like, yo, wake up. But Starfire is like, call an ambulance. But not from me. And blasts him. Talking about how she's awake and out for blood. But Slade is still alive, because he's built different, and he makes his escape by throwing up a bomb and knocking over a building, which is excessive. Starfire handles the situation, of course, but not before she actually cooks the people of New York, talking about how you'd think they'd be taught as children how to handle emergencies, but no! Instead, all they know how to do is regress into children. Now that the situation is over with, Starfire's confused, like, yo, why did he attack me? And why did he kill me when he had the chance? But Slade is all like, all according to plan. The transmitters are in place. So, Deathstroke then tells Hive to pull up to the auction tomorrow. At this point, Slade uses the transmitters to tell the Titans that he's going to be selling the Prometheum bomb tomorrow. And he wants the Titans to volunteer for being the test subjects he used the bomb against in a demonstration. And that in exchange for this suicide mission, he will release Sarah Sims. So long story short, Deathstroke nukes the Titans. And then Hive kills all the other bidders and says they will buy the bomb. Although they do claim they will pay Deathstroke with the money the others brought and keep their own money. Which is, I guess, fair, but it's a little scummy. They were never gonna pay Deathstroke with their own money, bruh. But Slade, however, was 2 steps ahead. Knowing the Hive would double-cross the others, he double-crosses the Hive, killing them as revenge for what they did to his kid, and keeping the money in the process. It's at this point it's revealed that the Titans used their powers to disable the bomb and fake the explosion, and then got the hell out of Dodge. But they were only able to do this because it wasn't actually a Prometheum bomb. It was a fake, because if you recall, the Prometheum bomb wasn't completed. No, this was just a regular atom bomb that someone stole from the Navy earlier, aka Deathstroke was the one who stole it. And at this point, the Titans start fighting an army of mercenaries headed up by Deathstroke. And Changeling, thinking he's really that guy because he beat Trigon's dog, goes to fight Slade one-on-one. Unfortunately, Changeling found out the hard way that Deathstroke is indeed that guy, and is left dead. Some character moments in this one include Starfire missing her parents and brother, but while reminiscing, she remembers her sister and, quote, what she did to her, although the details are left vague. And speaking of Starfire, while fighting Slade, Starfire says that on Tamaran, they fight to the finish. Which is crazy since they are yet to finish their 100-year war. Issue 11, the Titans managed to act quickly enough to put Changeling in suspended animation. So as it stands, while Gar's heart did stop beating, his brain is still alive. Somehow. Look, I'm no expert, but they had to move fast, alright? Like, I'm pretty sure if his heart ain't beating, he's not gonna last very long. So, Kid Flash probably moved fast, but thank God they just had suspended animation just in their plane. That's neither here nor there, though. So, the plan is to have the 3 female Titans take Changeling to the Amazon's home of Paradise Island, where he is to be treated with the purple healing ray. The same one that gave Donna her powers, if you recall. And if you're curious as to why only the girls are going, it's because men aren't allowed on the island. In the meantime, though, the guys are going to go search for Robot Man and Mento, aka Steve Dayton, Gar's stepdad, and in the process try to find the Doom Patrol's murderers, who Steve Dayton is in the process of tracking down. While all this is going on, in the underground realm of Tartarus, Hyperion, one of the legendary titans of Greek mythology, frees himself from his ages-old imprisonment and appears above Paradise Island. Naturally, Wonder Girl sees him and goes to confront him, but he kisses her without consent, only to get smacked down in turn. But then he uses like this inner light power or something and completely entrances her, and she falls head over heels for him, right? At this point, Starfire joins the fight, but Hyperion absolutely bodies Starfire, and when Raven shows up, he blows up her soul self. God damn, bro pulled up, squad wiped, and stole the author's girl. That's crazy. I was also low-key worried Raven was dead, but as it turns out, having her soul shattered is only agony-inducing, not lethal. So, Hyperion takes Wonder Girl back to Tartarus, but they are jumped by a trio of Cyclops who are guarding the gate. And he just immediately lights one of the Cyclopses on fire and throws him off a cliff. So his homeboy, right, throws lightning at Hyperion, leading Donna to think he died. So she starts strangling the Cyclops with her lasso and smashes him into a wall, killing him. Donna just murdered this Cyclops, and she justifies this by saying, well, he tried to kill the man I love, because like I said, she's head over heels. But then, the final Cyclops trying to revenge his squad here was about to attack Donna, but was in turn burned from the inside out by Hyperion. God, bro, this is an actual slaughter. So, at this point, Hyperion starts yapping about Greek mythology, right? But the only important thing here is that the Titans were overthrown by the Olympian gods and banished to Tartarus. Also, the Cyclops are technically like their brothers since they were born to their mother, but he just considers them hideous monsters, so whatever, right? It's not like this was the senseless slaughter of sentient beings that he's blood related to or anything, you know? So, now, Hyperion and Donna go into Tartarus and free the other Titans, and it's at this point that Raven, Starfire, Queen Hippolyta... Dude, I'm gonna keep it a $150. I have no clue how to pronounce that. And the Amazons show up to battle the Titans and attempt to recover Wonder Girl. But she refuses their aid, talking about how this is what she truly wants. And Hippolyta is like, the gods can mesmerize a woman. Even I once believed one loved me, cause... spoiler alert, Zeus did some Zeus things, and that's how Wonder Woman was born. Regardless, Donna says she's not really an Amazon, and she doesn't know who she is or anything of her past, but she knows that her future is to stand side by side with the Titans, and that they are going to Olympus to overthrow the gods and take back what is rightfully theirs. But Kronos immediately knows that the Amazons are mortal due to Zeus being too misogynistic to have a female fighting force. I'm dead, bruh. Oh, and in case you were wondering, Deathstroke escaped. Finally, before we move on, I want to point out that at one point in this issue, Starfire says that outside of Dick, she hasn't met any real men on Earth, which is low-key an insult to all the other male Titans. And speaking of the male Titans, they make note of how Garfield and Cyborg are good friends because they complement each other. Each one's weaknesses are the other's strengths. Basically, opposites attract. Oh, and they make clear that Donna considers Gar a good friend by this point, even if he does get on her nerves sometimes. And you might be watching this thinking that, yeah, that's pretty much implied, but Cyborg himself had to check, so figured I should mention it. Issue 12. So, the battle has begun, right? It's a clash of gods, Olympian versus Titan. In the fighting, Wonder Girl beats Ares, which is impressive considering how much trouble he gives Wonder Woman. In the end though, Kronos' power is supreme and Olympus falls. Just then, however, Athena shows up and brings all the Amazons plus Starfire and Raven to the battlefield, and she's about to hit them with this talk no jutsu, talking about how Kronos intends to create paradise at the cost of free will, but it doesn't really seem to work. Then, Raven tells Wonder Girl the obvious and reveals Hyperion made her fall in love with him. Of course, Kronos is like, hold up, we won! You can't talk us into giving up, and starts fighting. So, Starfire seizes this opportunity and goes and frees Zeus. And Zeus and Athena starts telling him that the mantle must always be passed on from parent to child. That's the way the world works, and Kronos should stop resisting. The future is now, old man! So they're like, what? And go back to Tartarus? That place sucks! To which Starfire says, well, why don't you just make it not suck? And the Titans go like, yeah, okay, I guess we should let you inherit what is yours. I'll just go, F off, I guess. And at this, Hyperion starts crying because he doesn't want to lose Donna. But she's like, I don't love you. Which, like, yeah. And Kronos says, give up, pal, she's immortal. It was never meant to be. And everything just kind of works out, you know? And at this point, we cut back to Changeling, you know, the whole reason we were here in the first place. And good news, he finally woke up. But bad news, he wants to kill everyone. Now, before we move on to issue 13, we're taking a look at another Titans issue that was released right after issue 12. We're headed off to the Best of DC number 18. Now, this one starts off with Speedy getting thrown into the ocean, with Aqualad arriving just in time to bail him out. He then brings the unconscious Speedy to Titan's tower. Now, here, Speedy reveals that he's working with the Narcotics Bureau trying to help other people before drugs can abuse them like it did to him. And he caught whiff of a drug transaction, but they knocked him out and threw him in the ocean. And after explaining what drugs are to Starfire, the Titans agree to help Speedy take down the drug operation. And the Titans kinda do just mop up. I mean, they're literally fighting just like regular people, so it's not much of a challenge for them. Anyways, once the fighting was done, Speedy rejects the offer of rejoining the Titans due to being too busy, but said he'll show up now and again. And Aqualad says the same thing, which is funny since nobody asked him. But yeah, with that slightly anachronistic reunion of the original Titans out of the way, we can return to the plot. Issue 13. So Wonder Girl went back home to see Terry. Oh, and Donna is still messed up from the whole being in love with Hyperion thing. I felt like I should mention that. Meanwhile, Starfire's competing in a tournament at Paradise Island. After the tournament, Hippolyta, Raven, and Starfire have a discussion of how Paradise Island is a lot like Tamarian, with all the training for combat, but Raven points out it's actually a lot more like Azarath because the whole island was established to avoid the wars of man, which is an interesting discussion. Cutting over to the other Titans, their search for Robot Man was successful. Unfortunately, they found him strung out outside a temple carrying a sign that says, "Trespassers will be executed." Luckily, Cyborg, being a cyborg, is pretty proficient in robots and is able to fix him. After which, Cliff explains that he went inside the fortress while looking for Gar's stepdad, Steve Dayton, and was blown apart. And talking about Gar, the laboratory he was in blew up, and they found out that the purple ray drove Changeling mad. And now he's a Brachiosaurus trying to kill everything in his path. And now, I'm left wondering, if he could do this the whole time, how come when they were fighting Deathstroke, Beast Boy turned into a snake? Look, I'm not saying he deserved to be hospitalized, I'm just saying, I hope he got some sense knocked into him. Like, remember when he turned into a chimera in the first Titans run? Really hope that happens again. Spoilers, he won't. Regardless, Raven uses her soul self to fix his mind. And when he comes back to his senses, they tell him he has to stay on top of this table they put out, since no man is allowed to step foot on Paradise Island. To which he complains about being stuck here with all these gorgeous gals just out of arm's reach. And says, now I know I died, only this isn't heaven, it's hell. Cutting back to the other Titans, they go into the fortress only to discover a giant hidden city, which is also the stronghold of Madame Rouge and General Zal, aka the killers of the Doom Patrol. Now, while invading the fortress and fighting their way inside, they manage to rescue Steve Dayton, who has apparently been drugged. With this, the Titans make their exit, but then it's revealed Madame Rouge had been watching them the whole time and claims this is all according to plan, because now they have an inside man amongst their ranks, aka Steve Dayton, and that the Titans will soon die. Now, some funny moments in this one include Robin whipping out a shield, to which Cyborg asks, yo, you got a kitchen sink in that belt of yours too? To which Robin says, nah, no room after the bathtub. Also, I love that Cyborg tells Robin to get long pants, because let's be honest here, folks, the short shorts are a bit much.
But do you have to wear that?
There's a reason there were so many Batman and Robin jokes, like, yeah, Bruce, that's what you're gonna make him wear? Okay. Issue 14. The girls and Gar fly out to meet up with the rest of the team in the jungle. While there, Raven takes the time to apologize to Wally because after the events on Paradise Island, she realized that forcing Wally to love her was wrong. Which, like, you're just now realizing that? Regardless, she then also shuts down any advances, saying, look, I'm taking some time to work on myself right now. Which is like, damn, Wally cannot catch a break, bro. So, Starfire also immediately tries to catch up with Dick, but he's all professional and stuff, and he's like, please, we got work to do. Which is very emblematic of their whole relationship, which is only one person putting in effort while the other person being cold and distant. I'll let you figure out who is who. While here, Raven points out that something sus is occurring in Dayton's mind, and honestly, being acquainted with him, I can say that's nothing new. So, they give Dayton back his Mento costume, since, in case you're unaware, Dayton was a Doom Patrol member called Mento, and he immediately lashes out against the Titans with his telekinesis. So, the Titans catch on pretty quickly that Mento is being controlled, but as Cyborg eloquently puts it, well, that's a relief, pal, so when he manages to kill me, I'll know it was only a mistake. Now, Dayton is kinda running through the Titans since they can't go all out, but when Dayton starts attacking both Robot Man and Gar at the same time, Raven gets an opening and attacks him on the mental plane, taking his worst pain and using it against him, aka making him think he's killing his former wife, Rita, and that makes him stop. And just in case I haven't mentioned it, Rita, aka Elastigirl, was a member of the Doom Patrol and was Changeling's adoptive mother that Dayton married. Rita was later killed when Madame Rouge killed the Doom Patrol. But it's looking more and more like she really only killed like 2 or 3 members of the Doom Patrol, for being honest. So, once the dust is settled here, Robin thinks about how Raven using her powers like that pains her. And Robin is scared that one day she's gonna break. Now, we cut to Madame Rouge upset at Dayton's loss, mentioning how after losing the chief, the leader of the Doom Patrol who she loved and was murdered by General Zal, she now only lives for the success of her plan, which is taking over Zandia. Meanwhile, Dayton debriefs the Titans on how Madame Rouge captured him, and Gar, thinking about Madame Rouge, is pissed and desperately wants revenge. The Titans try to sympathize, but he shuts them down, expressing how for years he suffered because he has lost 2 sets of parents. And since then, he's become a jokester, hoping the jokes would ease the pain, but they haven't. And now, seeing the Titans trying to solve his problems is making him want to handle Madame Rouge alone, in order to feel like he's amounted to something, and he flies off. The Titans recognize that Gar only feels he needs to prove himself because they never take him seriously, and because of that, they want to make it up to him. But right then, an earthquake strikes, and that's when they find out Madame Rouge's underground fortress is actually a flying fortress heading towards Zandia. And upon getting there, they just start killing everyone in the country, starting with their president. So, the Titans show up mid-genocide and start fighting, leading to an all-out war for Zandia against Madame Rouge's soldiers. Starfire is thrilled at this opportunity to go all out, but they are just simply overwhelmed because they were expecting the Titans, and this was a trap from the beginning. And all the Titans end up captured except for Changeling, who went out all alone. But it's revealed he too was taken captive, but not by Madame Rouge, but the Brotherhood of Evil, led by the Brain. Some character moments in this one include when Cyborg found out Robot Man is completely a robot and thinks to himself about how he used to feel sorry about himself, but at least he's still half human. Issue 15. So, General Zal has put the Titans and Robot Man in a devolving pit, which is causing them to start turning into Neanderthals. It's also revealed that Zandia, the nation that they're trying to take over, is a haven for escaped criminals. While this is going on, Changeling gets acquainted with the Brotherhood of Evil, consisting of the Brain, his talking gorilla Monsieur Mallah, Plasmius, who can melt whatever he touches, and who is probably better known for his appearance on the Teen Titans cartoon, Warp, who can create portals, Phobia, who can induce fear, and Hogan, who is a voodoo master. So, it's revealed that previously, when Madame Rouge tried to kill the Brain and Mallah back in the Doom Patrol comic, they had faked their deaths and assembled this new Brotherhood of Evil. And now, they are seeking vengeance on Zal and Rouge. And they ask Changeling to team up with them. Gar, in response, calls them scum, saying the Brotherhood was one of the Doom Patrol's biggest enemies, but Zal and Rouge killed the Doom Patrol, so now he's gonna put all that aside and accepts their truce. Cutting back to the villains, upon devolving the Titans, Zal says the Fuhrer would have been proud. Oh yeah, did I mention General Zal is a Nazi? Yeah, in case you needed any more reason to dislike them. And speaking of disliking him, apparently when Madame Rouge was a child, the Nazis killed her parents. So Rouge thinks about how she's soon gonna have to deal with Zal. But just then, Logan and the Brotherhood arrive, and an all-out fight starts against Zal's army. But the Brotherhood are brutal, man. Plasmius melts a man. Phobia shrinks the man into killing each other. Warp teleports them into space where they can't breathe. Yikes. While this is going on, Rouge is dipping, bro. She thinks Zal is a fool to fight these guys. So, while she's running away, all she's thinking about is how different her life could have been if the Brain had never taken an ordinary French school teacher and twisted her into the infamous Madame Rouge. But her thoughts get cut off as she soon gets cornered by Changeling. Here, the story cuts away to Robot Man, who's being attacked by the Feral Titans, since he wasn't devolved since he's a robot. But he manages to destroy the chamber they were trapped in using Cyborg's sonic cannon, and as a result, the Titans turn back to normal and join the fight. So, Raven starts healing Mallah, who has fallen, but obviously it hurts, and Mallah tries to return the favor by killing the soldier who's about to shoot her. But this distresses Raven, who feels and absorbs all pain, so like, the guy dying really hurts her, you know what I'm saying? Mallah doesn't get it though, because he's a creature of instinct, and Raven, just tired of arguing, just leaves for her own sanity and safety. Here they also go out of their way to take a note at how different the Titans and the Brotherhoods are. While the Brotherhood kills, the Titans merely stop people. But in spite of this, Wonder Girl is worried because while Starfire hasn't killed anyone, she's cutting it pretty close. It seems to have an ever-growing need for violence. And seeing his troops get thinned out, Zal decides to cut out, but Robot Man starts running after him, right? Meanwhile, the fight between Rouge and Changeling is in full swing as the battle between shapeshifters takes form. Oh yeah, Rouge can shapeshift. So she tries to hide behind a steel door, but Logan is on a warpath. He transforms into a dinosaur and starts chasing her down. Walls be damned. Cutting back to Robot Man, we see he chase Zal to a dead end. In here, Robot Man says he's not gonna kill him, but he will make his life a living nightmare. Zal panics, right, not wanting to be locked up, and just starts spraying. But Robot Man is bulletproof, and the bullet starts ricocheting, and Zal ends up shooting himself. And here, dying, Zal's last words are of how he has the last laugh. But Robot Man says no one gets the last laugh. Not the thousands killed, not the Doom Patrol, not even God, for he only weeps for his children gone astray. Finally, Changeling has gone insane and starts transforming into creatures that don't even exist, and he hunts Rouge down. Rouge, panicking, tries to blow up the entire base, saying if she's gonna die, she's gonna take them all down with her. Changeling tries to knock her away from the console, but he hits her too hard, and she flies into an electric panel. Transforming back to normal, Beast Boy panics, thinking he killed her, but Rouge starts speaking, saying how she died a long time ago, when the brain altered her mind and made her evil, and she's glad that the rest of her dies now. The electric shock, as it turns out, cleared her mind, and now she warns them to leave the island before they all die. Finally, she thanks Logan for freeing her, and then dies. Logan is left reeling, thinking of how he hated her and wanted her dead, but now her death is on his conscience, and he doesn't want anyone else to die because of him, and he goes to warn the others. Raven senses the fighting is over, and everyone uses Warp's ability to escape the island as it blows up. Afterwards, Garfield lets the Brotherhood go. And while the Brotherhood are talking about how glorious it was that Rouge and Zal have died, Logan just thinks that murder is not only wrong, but sad. Awfully, awfully sad. Just then, Mento shows up, and finally clear of his hatred for Rouge, he, for the first time, tells his son that he loves him. And with that, the surviving members of the Doom Patrol walk off, having finally avenged their comrades. Issue 16. So the issue starts off with Robin friend-zoning Starfire, but now being jealous because she already has a new boyfriend. And honestly, I don't know what he expected. She is literally a 6'4" bronze supermodel. She was never gonna stay on the market for long. So, we get the backstory of how her new boyfriend and her met. Basically, she was modeling and this dude saw her and asked her out. Here, we also find out what Starfire's civilian name is. It's Corianders. Jeez, I wonder how long it took for them to come up with that one. Coriander became Corianders, bro. What creative geniuses. Nah. So, things are going pretty smoothly between the two, but he eventually figures out that Cori is Starfire. You know, the orange skin and green eyes being a pretty big giveaway. But he doesn't care about that and claims to love her. Long story short, Starfire is in love. Meanwhile, Cyborg is stressing out about not calling Sarah Sims because he's scared about him previously leaving town without telling her. While this is going on, Raven is starting her first day of college. She enrolled in a philosophy course, but while there she embarrasses herself in class by yapping at considerable length. This catches the attention of one of the students who claims he also knows about the cult of Tsar and has even practiced some of their disciplines. After class, however, a couple of boys begin chastising Raven, and her new friend defends her by punching one of the thugs in the jaw. But this upsets Raven, proclaiming that physical violence has never been a part of the teachings of Azar, and she leaves wanting nothing to do with anyone. Afterwards, Raven is upset that she was unable to open up to her friends due to being taught to bottle her emotions, with Raven reflecting that she can never experience joy of her own, and that her soul will never be fulfilled. And worse still, because of her own inhibitions, she can never tell anyone of how terribly she suffers. At this point, it's revealed Starfire's new boyfriend was actually hired by a new member of the Hive, who wants to prove himself. Also, this new member replaced the one Slade killed, in case you were curious. But it turns out that this boyfriend, who was hired by the Hive, actually started to catch feelings for her. While this is going on, Starfire tells the Titans about her boyfriend and how she's in love, but the others are worried she's rushing into things. But Starfire says she wants them to meet him. At this point, the Titans go to the Alpha mobster who kidnapped the girlfriend of a man who was going to testify against him, and Starfire shoots the gangster but doesn't kill him. However, the others say she's using excessive force. While this is going on, the boyfriend confronts the Hive agent saying the deal is off, and that while he was originally going to kill him, he's not a killer, so instead, he's just going to go tell the Titans. But the Hive agent, just blatantly being threatened, takes the opportunity and shoots him in the back as he's leaving. As a result, the Titans find the boyfriend as he's dying, and he tells Starfire that he loves her before he dies in her arms. Robin tries to talk Starfire down after this, but fed up, she knocks Robin aside, saying she's done with listening to him, always telling her what to do, telling her to hold in her power. And Starfire loses it and goes after the killer, and this time she is shooting to kill. And the Hive agent is crumbling under her assault, with it saying that all she sees is the murderer of the man she loved. All she sees is a man who's going to die. But just in the nick of time, Donna intervenes, saying that there are laws on Earth, and if that she doesn't obey them, the Titans will be forced to hunt her down. Starfire cries, screaming, "It's not fair!" before taking off, flying out into the night. Left alone, Donna says that the bad guys will pay according to the laws, and that's the way things have to be, whether they like it or not. At this point, the Hive agent gets executed by the other members because he did all this without consulting the others first. Finally, the Titans decide not to tell Starfire that her boyfriend was working for Hive, saying he died loving her, and that that's all that really matters, leaving Starfire to grieve. Issue 17. A longtime friend of Wally West named Francis Kane asks for his help, in which it's explained that after an automobile accident which killed her father and her brother, an accident Francis survived by the way, her mother has become involved in witchcraft and seances. So, Wally comes to watch them perform their seance, but things go crazy, right? And the whole house is being ripped apart. Afterwards, the mother starts screaming, saying how Francis should have died in that accident, and that she is evil, and that all this destruction is due to her being damned. Honestly, I feel bad for Francis. Like, having your own mother say this to you shortly after you witness the deaths of your other family members? That sucks. But realizing he's out of his depth, Wally calls Raven to come investigate. And here she notices that it is Francis's fault that the house is being ripped apart, but that she's also a victim here, since whatever is happening is actually beyond her control. So, the Titans get doctors to run experiments on Francis, but it goes badly, like really badly. So, when Francis snaps back to reality, she starts crying, saying she needs her mama, but her mother is convinced that she is cursed and disowns her. And that's really messed up. I mean, even Raven cried at that. At this point, the Titans try to do things themselves and try to help her at Titan's Tower. Here, it's pretty heavily implied that she unwittingly caused the automobile accident that killed her family. Well, the tests go poorly, obviously, and the energies emanating from her almost destroy Titan's Tower and then the entirety of New York. And now the Titans are desperately fighting back, but it isn't working. For instance, Beast Boy turns into a T-Rex, but immediately gets clocked by a cruise ship flying at him. Finally, Cyborg figures out that these energies are magnetic, not magical, and uses a Star Labs anti-magnetic device to cure Francis. With this all finally over, Francis says that her mom still won't talk to her. She then kisses Wally and leaves. Finally, as the epilogue reveals, Francis's possession was actually caused by a Green Lantern enemy named Dr. Polaris in an attempt to free himself from an extra-dimensional exile. Which is interesting. This guy shows up, makes Francis Kane go crazy, and presumably gets dealt with in a Green Lantern comic, because we never see this guy again. We do, however, see Francis Kane again. Issue 18, the original Starfire, Leonid Kovar, is back. And if you're curious why there are two Starfires, it's because Starfire's the English translation of Kovar's Russian superhero name, and Kori is named after her Starfire bolts, with the Titans also claiming that Kovar wouldn't care if there are two Starfires. And of course, eventually the norm for DC will be to have multiple of the same hero, like 2 Supermen, 2 Robins, 2 Flashes, and like 9 million Green Lanterns. But anyways, the story starts when the son of a Soviet official, Varric Slavik, is killed by an American. This causes him to take revenge on the United States by sending his secretary, Malady Malinova, to America, with the woman unwittingly being the carrier of a deadly disease. Malady, wow, okay. Upon learning of this, the Soviet government sends the superhero Starfire to the US to stop Malady. And the FBI alerts the Titans to Starfire's arrival. And brief recap, the Titans have met Starfire before, in Sweden where they fought an international jewel thief together. During that adventure, Starfire never used his powers, but he did say that he had some. And in this issue, it's revealed he got the superpowers after he got electrocuted while fooling around for a rocket ship that crashed. So that brings us to the main conflict of the issue. The Titans mistake Kovar, Starfire, for the Plague Carrier. Actually, they don't. Wally just assumes it's Kovar, and a battle ensues. During the battle, the Titans try asking Leonid what's going on, but Leonid claims he's on a secret mission and can't talk about it. This eventually leads to them capturing him, so Leonid explains the situation. This woman is an unknown carrier and she's spreading a radiation-induced plague to anyone she touches. But not only that, but every passing hour, she becomes closer to death. And having discovered the truth, Kid Flash is just a jerk, bruh, refusing to believe Starfire because Wally West is racist. He literally states he distrusts Russians. And oh my god, bro, Wally is insufferable in this issue. Every single word out of his mouth is just him equivocating Kovar with the entirety of Russia. It's always like, oh, your memory's about as poor as your country's honor, or, oh, you don't want to be enemies, huh? Sure, just like your government doesn't want to intimidate Poland. He keeps this up even when Kovar points out that Kid Flash is on this mission on the orders of the FBI and asks if he condones all of his government's imperialist policies. Even Raven is surprised at how racist he's being. Now, at this point, Leonid explains that Malady cannot be saved, even though her victims can, if they get to them in time. And he states that he was sent here to stop her and also to prevent panic, because they're worried that the people of the United States would not believe this was the work of one grief-stricken madman. Of course, Wally immediately puts his conspiracy cap on and starts saying that this is all a Russian plot and that Kovar's Russian masters are pulling the wool over his eyes. To which Leone responds by punching Kid Flash in the face. And can I say finally, oh my god, bruh. So, Kovar escapes, and Wally goes on a rant, judging the Titans for thinking Kovar was playing straight. And Donna's like, yo, what's going on with you? You never talk like this. And Wally says it's because he knows their politics are different and says, I don't put you down for being liberals, why attack me for being a Midwestern conservative? And like, what the hell is he talking about? Not a single person has said anything at all about politics this entire issue. Meanwhile, Malady, who isn't feeling well, refuses to go to the hospital, claiming she has to do something first and then she has to get married. So now, the Titans are racing after Malady, but Kovar catches up to her first. He tells her that she has been lied to, and that her touch is spreading pain and death, and that he was sent here to see that she dies. At this, the Titans arrive and start fighting Starfire, with Kid Flash popping off about how Kovar is just dying to obey any order his country gives him. But Kovar retorts by saying, do you really think this is about politics? That girl's in pain. It tears me apart even thinking about that. She's gonna die anyway. Let her die my way, not by some slow, insinuating torture. And while this is going on, Malady is literally begging Raven to let her die, since it hurts too much to live. But the fighting continues until the Titans overwhelm Kovar, but he gets back up because he refuses to be stopped. And at this, Robin says he can fight them until the last Titan, but they won't let him kill her. And he says they'll take her to a hospital to get her drugs to ease her pain. Leonid says they are wrong about this, but he won't fight them any longer and allows them to take her to the hospital. A week later, she finally dies, and Kid Flash starts getting on Kovar's case about having wanted to kill her, to which Kovar says he wouldn't expect Wally to understand, but he volunteered for this mission to spare her the pains of a slow, torturous death. And this sets Wally off, saying, volunteered? Good God, what for? For some blasted medals when you get home? But Kovar says, no, I volunteered because I loved her. Malady and I were engaged, and today is the day we were to be married. This stuns Kid Flash, and with this, Kovar leaves, ending the issue. And oh my god, bro, that ending is devastating. It's almost impossible to imagine what Kovar was going through in this issue. All I can say is that I hope this experience causes Wally to reflect and stop prematurely judging people based solely on their nationality. Issue 19. So the issue starts by revealing Cyborg hasn't talked to Sarah for 2 months because he feels guilty that Deathstroke kidnapped her for merely knowing him, with him thinking that she's probably already forgotten about him and is better off without him anyways. While this is going on, it literally cuts to Sarah wishing Cyborg would come back. After this, it cuts to Dr. Light in prison, and upon him hearing about a heist the Riddler pulled off, he gets inspired to escape from prison. And this time, instead of attacking superheroes, he plans to rob an Indian museum exhibit instead. He also just randomly knows that Vishnu comes from the word fish, meaning light penetrating the whole universe. And I know this is foreshadowing for stuff that happens later in the issue, but who speaks like that? And honestly, how does he know this? Is the answer that he's Dr. Light? It's so weird. Cutting back to the Titans, Starfire is still devastated over the death of her boyfriend Franklin, which is surprising because I did not remember his death leaving such a lasting impact on her. She even states that she wanted to marry him, which is kind of crazy. Raven overhears this and thinks about how Starfire at least got to experience love, while she lives being denied emotions. But while Raven is deep in thought, the Giga Chad Robin actually takes the time to ask Raven what is wrong, stating he is her friend and is concerned about her. Unfortunately, Raven doesn't want to talk and gives him the slip using her powers. But at least when the time comes in the future, Robin can look back and think of how he was the one person who tried to reach out to Raven. Afterwards, Dr. Light starts his heist. Unfortunately for him though, the guard is Carter Hall, aka Hawkman, and during the scuffle, one of his light beams refracts through a crystal and accidentally brings the statues of Indian deities to life. So, Light, seeing an opportunity here, guides the creatures to Titan's Tower to attack the Titans, with the plan here being that either the Titans beat the monsters or die in the process. But either way, Light wins. Honestly, this is one of his better plans. So the fighting starts, and during the fight, Robin avoids a light blast from Dr. Light. Robin is unironically faster than Light. Dude is faster than Savitar from The Flash. Isn't that crazy? Finally, Robin and Hawkman capture Light and learn how he activated the creatures, so they get Starfire to use her power through the crystals, and with that, all the statues are destroyed, and Light is sent back to jail. And for those concerned, the Riddler was also arrested. Finally, the issue ends with Sarah Sims showing up at Terry Long's apartment asking for help. Some character moments in this one include them reiterating that the Atom beat Dr. Light. So, they really don't want you to forget that. They said you're gonna take the cell, and you're gonna hold it. Speaking of Dr. Light, at one point Kid Flash says Dr. Light would sell his mother for a nickel, and he says, "No, I wouldn't. Not for a nickel." Honestly, this issue is peak Dr. Light. Might just be his best showing. Finally, there's a really funny interaction between Changeling and Cyborg, where he says, "You really should have seen her, Vic. She was this mousy-looking librarian, and then she let her hair down, took off her glasses," and Cyborg interrupts and says, "And she was still a mousy-looking librarian, right?" To which Changeling replies, "Yeah, so I dated her sister. What a dish." Had me in stitches, bruh. I mean, he's not wrong. Those makeovers in movies really don't make much sense. Issue 20 is all about Kid Flash writing a letter to his parents, filling them in on the recent events that he and the Titans have experienced. So, in the letter, he tells of how a New York supervillain, I meant to say new supervillain, but technically they are in New York. A new supervillain calling himself the Disruptor attacks Cyborg and Changeling in the sewers. After they failed to catch him, Robin took it pretty hard because he was with Batman recently, and when next to him, he feels stupid. Which was a shock to Kid Flash, finding out that even Robin can be insecure about himself. Since, with the Titans, Robin casts such a big shadow, you know what I mean? After that, it cuts to the Titans throwing a surprise birthday party for Cyborg. However, Donna was a little bummed at the birthday party because she herself doesn't know when her birthday is. She tried to get the truth of her past, her age, name, but she couldn't find it, and it hurts not knowing, to the point that sometimes she wakes up crying. Then Wally talks about how Starfire misses her family and little brother, about how hard it is on her to have spent 7 years away and not even know if her family is still alive at this point. But shortly after this, the Disruptor attacks, and it becomes clear that he is taking out the Titans one by one, with him coming back and beating Donna and Wally. It's also made pretty clear here that the Disruptor is only doing this on the orders of his father, the old Batman villain, Brains Belden. And Belden's plan is to destroy the Titans in order to get the 7th seat of the Hive. He also explains that the Hive are all scientists who have lost battles to superheroes, so now they've teamed up and used their mutual skills to make them undefeatable. Which is a little ironic, seeing that they've been defeated a few times already. But while we're on the topic of the Disruptor's dad, I want to mention that while he is a jerk, he is low-key right though, since he was saying that you can't assume a superhero is dead without seeing the body, because the Disruptor was convinced he had killed the Titans, in spite of the fact that he actually killed Zero. So, the Titans attack the Disruptor, but the ability to disrupt powers is kinda crazy. I mean, he actually demolishes, like, all the Titans instantly, and Cyborg loses his arm again. I swear, it's dismemberment so frequent you'd think it's Star Wars. Ultimately, though, Raven uses her soul self on the Disruptor, and he sees his fate. And to him, it is sheer horror in hell. Afterwards, the Disruptor, who's only doing what his father asked, gets sent to 10 years in prison. And when his father came to visit him, the father told him he doesn't ever want to see him again due to embarrassing him when he failed. The disruptor starts pleading with his dad, saying he only ever wanted his love, but his dad turns his back on him. In the final scene, Wally thinks about how Robin is desperately trying to live up to an image rather than being himself, Wonder Girl desperately wants her own identity, Starfire wants the joy of knowing her family might still be alive, Raven's trauma is caused by Trigon, and Cyborg has problems caused by Sarah Sims. And in the end, he had been so wrapped up in his own problems of trying to do both college and superheroing that he forgot other people had problems too. And upon seeing Michael Belden's situation, this made Wally grateful for having good parents, which is what made him write the letter in the first place. And finally, he decides to go deliver it in person, which is really sweet. This issue also has a bonus backup issue in which a mad scientist abducts Marv, Wolfman, and George Perez to learn the Teen Titans' secrets from them, but the Titans foil his plans and save the two. It's kind of funny how Wolfman was willing to sell out the Titans though, and after they get saved, he gets all nervous and calls Starfire gorgeous. Which is funny, since we all thought Donna was his type, since Terry Long is basically a self-insert, but when his real self-insert shows up, he went after Starfire, so who knows. Issue 21. The issue starts with Raven and Starfire saving a baseball stadium crowd from terrorists. The opening narration also implies that the new pastime of America is terrorism, which is really funny. I guess this implies they toss around a bomb instead of a ball nowadays. No more 3 strikes, you're just out. Now, while getting rid of the bomb, Starfire thinks about how she wants Dick to admit that he loves her. Yet in spite of that, she wonders if she'll ever care for him again the same way she did before she met Franklin. Ultimately, however, she throws the bomb into the air, but is still too close and gets caught in the explosion. It's like Batman said,
"Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb."
But not to worry, Raven saves her, saying that in spite of them being so different, Starfire has always called her her friend, and as a result, Raven will not let her down. Which is nice to see, since Raven is typically so emotionally distant, it's good to see her reach out enough to call them her friends. Regardless, as all this goes on, they are unaware that they are being monitored by a satellite base. Meanwhile, Cyborg's ex-girlfriend Marcy Reynolds is trying to escape the confines of a cult that she had joined. Marcy is almost shot in the process, but the lady about to shoot her just straight up gets hit by a train. Here, we cut to Cyborg, who is finally talking to Sarah Sims, and obviously she doesn't blame him. It's pointed out that Cyborg blames himself too much. He even blames himself for his parents dying. But this conversation gets interrupted as Marcy calls Cyborg asking for help. But while she's on the phone, she's murdered. Something that rocks Cyborg to his core. Afterwards, the leader of the cult tells the woman who recommended Marcy to the church that she must have known Marcy dated Cyborg, and her claiming ignorance is grounds for excommunication. So he then feeds her to a giant spider. A horrific fate compounded by the illogical nature of them just having a bargain bin Shelob lying around. At this point, the cult leader is revealed to be the one and only Brother Blood. We cut back to the Titans where Cyborg has filled them in on the situation. And Starfire makes an astute point, saying Marcy may have been killed because she knew Victor, and asks if that is the way things are on this world. You fall in love, and your lover has to die. Sounds harsh, but honestly with Cyborg, Starfire, Kovar, the numbers are adding up. After getting information from Marcy's father at the funeral, the Titans, or at least the 4 who can pass for normal people, infiltrate Brother Blood's cult to find information. Here, they find out Brother Blood has been alive for over 700 years, and his church has prospered that long on Zandia. We also get introduced to the villain Mother Mayhem in this issue. She's basically the number 2 at the cult. She isn't too relevant right now, but she will be important way later on. Getting back on track, soon after they enter the cult, they witness Blood murder a woman for blasphemy. And when Raven feels the pain of her death, their cover's blown. This immediately leads to the four battling Blood and his followers, but they are easily defeated because Brother Blood is just that guy. Luckily, Raven had enough foresight to sense that she was going to lose, so she has her soul self escape to warn the other Titans. Some interesting things to note in this one is that it's revealed Wally West is religious and Dick Grayson isn't. And this issue is also the first time Raven has ever worn pants. She didn't like it. Issue 22. After capturing the Titans, Brother Blood takes Robin to be tortured for information. But Robin just doesn't break, and ultimately they throw him into the same pit he threw Donna, Wally, and Raven into. The pit with the giant spider monster. While this is going on, the remaining Titans are on edge. Starfire and Cyborg are riled up because of what happened to Marcy and Franklin, and Starfire says the way Dick does things is always so slow, but that's not her way. Cyborg then tries to go with her, but when Changeling steps in to stop him from doing something he'll regret, he starts choking Changeling out, saying he isn't man enough to stop him. Luckily, Raven stops this from going any further as her soul self arrives and fills them in on what's been going on. Now, as the Titans head to Zandia to provide backup, Cyborg apologizes to Changeling. Garth says that what he said was true though, and he's always fouling up, but Cyborg says he doesn't foul up any more than the rest of them. In fact, it was him who fouled up, him and his big mouth. He was angry and he wanted to crush something and Gar just got in the way. But he would have said the same thing to Dick or Donna. He didn't mean any of it. And I'd just like to point out, in case it wasn't clear, a big reason why Changeling is so hard on himself is because he's actually 3 years younger than the other Titans and feels inferior as a result. But while this conversation is going on, Brother Blood is back on Zandia, trying to gain public favor by convincing the public that the Titans have launched an unprovoked attack against their church. He's doing this with the aid of Bethany Snow, a newscaster who's secretly a member of his cult. But right as this interview is occurring, the remaining Titans burst in to launch their rescue attempt, with Blood trying to spin this as them being persecuted for their beliefs. Next, we find Robin, the only Titan left conscious, holding off the spider on his own. And when he thinks it's all over, he apologizes to the Titans and to Bruce for letting them down. But luckily, he held out just long enough for the other Titans to reach them. But after rescuing the Titans, there's a prolonged fight against Blood, ultimately ending when Cyborg downs Brother Blood's plane as he attempts to escape. And having crashed the plane on live TV, the Titans get branded as murderers. But what the public doesn't know is that Blood faked his death and that this was all according to his plan. The final scene in this issue is the Gordanians arriving on Earth to retrieve Starfire, their escaped slave, with the reveal being that they are being led by Blackfire, Starfire's sister. Something of note in this one is that Blood was able to cause Raven's soul self pain when she tried to use it on him, which is interesting. As for some character moments, at one point the Titans worry that Cyborg is gonna kill Blood, but Starfire says that they suffer from false morality and that they should return violence with violence. Also of note is that Raven refers to Robin as Richard, which is so formal. But it's probably low-key better than calling him Dick.
My name's Richard Grayson, but all the kids at the orphanage call me Dick.
Well, children can be cruel.
Yeah.
Issue 23. Arriving in New York, the Titans meet with District Attorney Adrian Chase. He explains that they made Blood a martyr, and they basically blew it. Blood's followers are now even more devoted, because they believe that Blood will come back to life just as the cult foretold. Something that won't be hard, seeing as he's not really dead. The only good news here is that Blood has dropped the charges against them. After this goes down, Starfire is being affected by a Gordanian mental probe. It goes wild. Something that doesn't help their case, as running wild in the streets right after being framed for murder is a bad look. The Titans do have some supporters though, like some of the people who were at the baseball stadium that Starfire rescued them from the terrorists. They know the Titans are good and claim that something must be wrong with them. Starfire, at this point, is then taken captive by the Gordanian slavers. After battling the aliens, the Titans notice that rather than be captured, the aliens killed themselves. Something that weighs heavily on Raven as she now thinks herself a murderer. Later, the Titans, with the help of Aqualad, restore and commandeer 2 Gordanian ships and follow their foes to their orbiting mothership. Aqualad, however, skips out on going to space on account of his weakness. You know, the whole need water every hour or he'll die. Which is probably a good call. I'm not even sure he can go to bed on land without dying, so he definitely isn't cut out for space. Meanwhile, in space, Blackfire confronts her sister and kills the guards who spoiled the surprise of her being there to Starfire. She then reveals she plans on torturing and killing Starfire and calls her a dog. Starfire in turn tells her to go to hell, and Commander says she will go to hell, but not before Starfire's friends suffer for knowing her. Blackfire then proceeds to send drones to attack the Titans, and they get decimated. Like, they even ripped Cyborg's limbs off, which is becoming a far too familiar sensation for him, if I must say. After they get thoroughly whooped, they get thrown into the vacuum of space. After which, Blackfire is called away by the Citadel, so they leave, saying they'll return to destroy Earth another time. Cutting back to the Titans, Raven's soul self was able to sustain them long enough for them to be rescued by Superman, who uses a tractor beam from the Justice League satellite to pull them in. However, Superman states he's unable to aid the Titans in their rescue mission, since he was weakened at the time. And the issue ends with the Titans promising to get Kory back. Issue 24. Superman then immediately introduces the Titans to the Omega Men, a handful of freedom fighters from the Vega system. And I immediately knew this would be the case since the first word out of this person's mouth was Shaw. And I don't mean to racially profile, but I was like, this dude is from the Vega system. Because that's the thing Kory's always saying. And the Omega Men agree to take the Titans with them on their return to their home system, with 2 of them claiming to know Kory due to training with her on Okara, with Okara being the place where people from the Vega system receive combat training from the warriors of Okara. On the Citadel homeworld, however, Blackfire wants to keep Starfire as a permanent slave, and seeks permission from Lord Damon, the repulsive Citadel chieftain. This leads Starfire to break out and try to kill Commander, which is Blackfire's true name if I haven't mentioned. During the fight, Blackfire claims to be better, but Starfire claims not in a fair fight. They're equals, even if they've never fought as such. But Blackfire retorts, claiming that Starfire is one everyone cares for, but she is the one everyone fears, and that's why she is better. But this doesn't seem to deter Kory, who says, "All my life you've done everything you can to ruin whatever I've loved. But I tell you, Commander, when you turned traitorous to Tamaran, when you revealed our defense secrets to the Citadel, then I swore you would die." Which explains why Kory hates her with such vitriol, as well as why Commander is working with the Citadel. This to say nothing about how much Commander hates Kory. This hatred, of course, stems from Commander's belief that Starfire was their parents' favorite, even though she was better. Which tracks since Koriander was made heir in spite of Commander being older, simply because they thought Kory was more capable. After the fight, Commander declares, "I monitored you, Koriander. On that planet, you took the name Starfire. Well, I shall take a second name as well. But where your heart burns as brightly as the stars, mine is as black as the deep pits of hell. Men fear hell, and all men shall fear the power of Blackfire." Which is such a sick reveal, except for the fact that they revealed the name Blackfire last issue on the cover. Upon arriving in the Citadel homeworld and turning over Starfire, Blackfire is informed of the Citadel's plans to capture Shaw, the Vegan's living goddess. Cutting back to the Titans and the Omega Men, they arrive at Okara, and one of the Omega Men, named Oron, who's been glowing the whole time, goes to see Shaw and reveals that she is his mother. He then explains that his mother reformed him after he died and turned him into the Angel of Death. Shaw arrives. I have no clue how to pronounce that. It's X-H-A-L with an apostrophe. Dog, you got me messed up. So Shaw arrives and claims he was reformed to be used as a weapon to avenge her death. But just then, the Citadel arrives and attacks Okara. The Titans and the Omega Men aid in the planet's defense, and a war begins. Finally, Changeling, disguised as Gordanian, because they're green, attempts to smuggle Robin and Cyborg into the enemy's mothership to rescue Starfire. But they are immediately caught. Hey, there was an attempt. Issue 25. Shaw is forcing Oron to kill, and the Omega Men tell Shaw she cannot be released from her prison because here is the only place she can be controlled and keep the people who worship her safe. Meanwhile, Changeling overpowers the guards in the ship and holds them at gunpoint, telling them to take him to the Citadel. And Gar puts the gun in the guy's mouth. He is not playing around. This goes on while the war is raging, and it's pretty brutal. One of the Omega Men snaps a guy's neck so hard his head is backwards. Of course, while this is going on, all the death is overwhelming Raven, causing her to almost lose control of the evil Trigon side of her personality. After she regains control, she says Trigon is gone, but wonders for how long. Next, we find out Commander is torturing Starfire, wanting to see her beg, and thus she puts Starfire in a 200-degree chamber with the intention of burning off her skin, but Starfire continues to resist. Blackfire then presents the Citadel leaders with the captive Shaw, who she successfully kidnapped, and they state that if the rebels don't surrender in exchange for Shaw, they will simply release her, and she won't be able to stop herself as she destroys the very people who worship her. Just then, the Titans arrive and see what is happening. And Robin, thinking Starfire's dead, goes berserk and starts attacking without a plan, something that is noted to be uncharacteristic for him. Here, a standoff results when Cyborg threatens to kill Damon unless Commander surrenders. Blackfire resolves the situation by ruthlessly destroying Damon herself and claiming the throne of the Citadel homeworld. With this turn of events, Robin tries to negotiate, saying that now Commander is in charge of the Citadel, and Corey isn't a threat anymore. She has all the power she could ever want, so she should let Corey go. But Blackfire doesn't believe in letting enemies go, just so they could rise again and destroy you. So instead, she says she will destroy Corey, but only after she lives long enough to see her kill their parents and destroy their homeworld of Tamaran. And the issue ends with Corey screaming that she won't let Commander do that, even if she has to kill her. Some character moments in this one include Donna claiming Starfire as Donna's family as much as Hippolyta and Diana. Also, Robin claims he only likes Starfire as a friend, but then immediately gets really angry when he sees Corey half dead, implying otherwise. And in case you were curious, Kid Flash does still love Raven. It says so here, he mentioned it in the letter to his parents, and when he dropped off Raven on her first day. Teen Titans Annual 1. You have humiliated me. You have tortured me. You have done everything in your power to destroy me, but you failed. Now, Commander, now I'm gonna kill you, and nothing's going to stop me. A great opening to the best annual from this series. I mean, there are only two, but I'm telling you right now, this one is the best. This also completely sets the stage for this issue. which is the continuation of an all-out war, as well as the final, dramatic conclusion in the death match between Corey and her sister. And the fire lines don't stop. Come on, Commander, you've been attacking me for days. You've been swearing that you're so much better than I am. Let's see you prove it, sister. These fighting words mark the beginning of a new skirmish between the Titans and the aliens. But one by one, the Titans are defeated, while the fight between Starfire and Blackfire just keeps escalating, with Starfire thrashing Blackfire, with Commander noting she spent too much time training her Starbolts and not her physical strength, leading to her trying to appeal to Starfire's family instincts to try to buy her some breathing room. Unfortunately for her, Starfire says, "The time for talk is long over. I'll only be satisfied with your death. That and nothing less." Blackfire, however, worried about getting killed, locks in and starts fighting back with Starbolts, thinking about how she can't let Starfire kill her, since all her life, Corey was hailed as the greatest, even receiving access to the throne that should have been hers, and that at last, she will prove she should have been the true Princess of Tamaran. Starfire, however, will not stop with the trash talk, saying, "What's wrong with you, Commander? I thought you were more powerful than this. I thought a single blast could disintegrate me." Before blasting the hell out of Commander and saying, "Have you gotten soft in your complacency? Well, I haven't, sister. I've been training." And the fighting continues brutally back and forth until Lord Damon's Scion advisor, the Scions are a scientific-based species and the enemy of the Citadel, although this one was working for Damon, takes control of the Citadel forces and interrupts the battle, then pits Starfire against Blackfire in a duel to the death, with the stakes deciding whether Commander will become the Citadel's new leader, as well as if Tamaran will be destroyed. But of course, even if Blackfire wins, the Scion secretly plans to double-cross her. Meanwhile, aboard the Omega Men ship, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, and Raven learn the origin of Shao. She was once the greatest warrior of the Vegan system, and was primarily responsible for repelling a Scion invasion, and was therefore made the Vegans' High Empress. But one day, the Scions returned and killed Shao, and experimented on her lifeless body, eventually converting it to pure energy. But this unexpectedly brought her back to life as a powerful battle goddess with an insatiable lust for destruction. She destroyed the attacking Scions, but then turned her uncontrollable power against her own people, destroying 3 of the 25 Vegan worlds before she could be captured and brought under the control of those who would later become the Warlords of Okara. Back on Tamaran, the death duel with Blackfire begins. It's a pitched back and forth battle, during which Blackfire tells Starfire that their brother went insane and killed their parents, to try to demoralize Starfire. But Starfire refuses to give up, saying she'll keep fighting until Commander is dead. And her attempts to demoralize her only serve to disappoint Starfire, since she imagined Commander as a terrible war machine, horribly powerful. But in truth, she's weak and spineless, and now laughs at ever thinking she was stronger than her. But at the thought of being laughed at, Commander loses it and starts lashing out at Starfire with her Starbolts, saying that Starfire always fought by the rules and that's why she could never win against her. And now she's gonna use her Starbolts to fry Starfire from within. Starfire, however, in an effort to stop Commander, starts flying erratically, and since Commander can't fly, she realizes Coriander's gone crazy, and she's going to kill them both by crashing them into a mountain. But they fly straight through the mountain, barely alive, with Commander screaming that she's insane and she's gonna kill them both. But Starfire has no pity, saying she wanted this fight and she'll suffer for it, and that if she wants to end the fight right now, she can simply let go and fall to her death. Commander, however, says if they'll go down together, and they crash into a river and continue fighting underwater. Blackfire, going to kill Starfire, uses her starbolts, but Starfire screams, "You fool! Don't you know where we are? If you use your starbolts here..." But she's cut off, because the starbolts make the water boil at volcanic temperatures, and stone explodes. And then they are flung over the waterfall, with only Starfire arising. But then, the Scion reveals that he triggered a series of explosions which would activate when one of them died. Explosions that will wipe out the entire Vega system. Vega is only saved when Shaw breaks free and detonates the explosives harmlessly. Raven then heals the badly injured Starfire, after which Coriander is reunited briefly with her parents and brother, who are still alive, before being forced to leave as she can't stay on Tamaran due to the treaty with the Citadel. Starfire, however, doesn't want to go, but the Titans tell her that she knows her parents are right. But in spite of this, she will not be alone. The Titans are also her family, and they love her. And Corey comes to understand that as long as she is loved, she's home. Some character moments in this one include when Dick says he hasn't slept since Corey was kidnapped and didn't realize how much she meant to him. And there's also a scene when Cyborg slams a wall on an alien, leading Cyborg to wonder about what would happen if he messes up back on Earth, since his strength could allow him to easily kill someone if he isn't careful. Someone human, of course, because he does not care about killing aliens, apparently. Overall, I think the Blackfire arc was pretty great. The only thing I didn't like was the Omega Men, except for Oron, who has ties to Shaw, who cares about the Omega Men? Is that mean to say? Issue 26. On the way back from Vega, the Titans discuss Robin and Starfire, saying it's obvious that they're in love, but whether or not their relationship will work is up to them. This immediately cuts to Robin telling Starfire how he feels. Or more specifically, he feels he should explain why he's been acting like a jerk, saying how he was guided by Batman to focus on his head and not his heart, and he just came out of a romance with someone he thought he cared for. Which is apparently a reference to Dala Vadim, who's a vampire. But anyways, he also says part of her frightens him. Not that she's an alien, but something else, and it's hard to explain. Personally, I can see that going either one of two ways. Either she scares him because he cares about her and doesn't know what to make of that, or she scares him because of her violent tendencies. Regardless, he continues saying he doesn't know anything about himself and that he's worried he might only think he loves her, and he needs time to sort out his emotions. And Corey says to take all the time he needs. And with this, the two finally start a relationship, one that is surely destined to last. The story hard cuts to some kids running away from home, but for different reasons. One was scared of staying home and being beat, one wanted to leave because they didn't want to be told what to do, and one was kicked out because she was pregnant. Afterwards, we see the Titans go back to their lives after spending several weeks away. But with this, the story skips ahead several weeks. Here, we find Dick and Corey on a movie date, when they witness a drug-crazed kid try to rob the district attorney, Adrian Chase, before running into the street and getting run over. Later, Changeling responds to some trouble at the Statue of Liberty, and it is here that he meets Terra, and he ends up battling her. And if you couldn't tell by the name, she has Earth powers, but she uses her powers to escape. Meanwhile, Raven helps out a girl who was in pain, and Cyborg figures out that she had been walking the streets, this actually being the same girl who was kicked out earlier. And after taking her to a runaway center, they encounter Adrian Chase. Chase then tells the Titans to take down a drug shipment and break a few heads if they want to. Robin retorts, no, there are laws here, but Chase says he doesn't care about laws, only about what is right, something that reminds Robin of Batman. On the final page, the Titans go back to the runaway center, only to find a boy who has been shot. Some character moments in this one include Raven, again, refusing to open up to her friends at school. Issue 27. Raven heals the boy, but almost gets taken over by Trigon in the process. The boy reveals he is the brother of the kid who got run over last issue, and that while investigating his death, he was nearly killed by some gangsters. After returning to the youth center, they encounter Roy Harper, because if it's a Titan stories about drugs, you know Roy is never far behind. Seems he went from being an addict to stopping the drug trade. Here, it's revealed Roy is working with the DA as a liaison between government agencies. As such, Roy suits up as Speedy and teams up with the Titans. And I want to point out that seconds after meeting Raven, he asks her out, proving some things never change. The Titans then launch a bust of the drug czar, Anthony Scarapelli, who is using teenage runaways to distribute his drugs on the streets. And they are going ham! Like Starfire straight up drills right through a whole cruiser. They are not playing around here. Unfortunately, neither are the gangsters, as they kill one of the kids who was trying to steal drugs in the middle of the chaos, leading to one of the other kids to cut open the throat of the gangster who did it in revenge. Finally, a sniper kills a 13-year-old boy right in front of Cyborg, and Cyborg sends him flying over the pier. And when Cyborg says the guy isn't dead, Chase coldly says, "Shame, he deserved to die." But with the fighting done, they arrest Scarapelli. In the epilogue, the runaway kids go home. Some are accepted back, some like the pregnant girl are turned away, and others leave again of their own accord, and the cycle goes on. As far as Titans drug stories go, this one wasn't bad. They hammer home the point that drugs are bad, and there are plenty of runaway children on the streets who are taken advantage of by the drug trade, but this wasn't as preachy or ham-fisted as the drug awareness issues with the Protector. But that's a story for another day. Issue 28. For the past several days, Gar's been trying to capture Terra, something even the narrator considers laughable, which honestly is a bit rude. So, the stage is set, but during this confrontation, Terra, while fighting Beast Boy, Changeling, my bad, claims she can't let him stop her mission because the stakes are too high, and her parents' lives are at stake. Changeling tries to say that he'll help her rescue her parents, but ultimately she ends up giving Changeling the slip, with him noting that ever since the Madame Rouge incident, he's been almost afraid to use his power to the fullest. Ultimately though, Changeling stops holding back and is able to capture her. Cutting back to Zandia, we see that the members of Brother Blood's cult are systematically being killed off by the Brotherhood of Evil, and they are as gruesome as ever. Phobio makes a woman so scared her heart stops, then tricks the others into gunning each other down. Warp teleports a bunch of people to the bottom of the sea, and Plasmius melts a man down to a protoplasmic blob. Cutting back to the Titans, Starfire's complaining about how Robin has been acting grumpy lately, which makes her wonder if she's done something wrong. And Donna saying that this is Dick's problem is words to live by, because over this series, you will see Dick being non-committal or judgmental towards Starfire, leading her to think his actions are her fault. But as Donna said, it is and always will be Dick's problem. Getting back on track, she explains that he gets like this, especially after spending time with Batman, who he feels he will never live up to. Donna then leaves to go meet Terry's ex-wife and child, but the ex-wife points out how young she is, and then Donna is introduced to the kid as Daddy's friend, and ultimately she's made to feel unwelcome there and leaves. Later on, Dick is brooding as per usual, and Corey tries to reach out to him, but he immediately shuts her down. He then explains that he's upset because of Bethany Snow's latest article, which leads Starfire to try to cheer him up. But Dick says, "Corey, please, don't you ever want to enjoy a bad moment? I just want to think." And then he says he's going to Adrian Chase's to check out the connection between Snow and Brother Blood. And Corey asks to let her come with him. Okay? Please? At this point though, Gar arrives at Titan's tower with Terra. She tries to escape, but she quickly learns that that is futile and decides to comply, explaining that she's been forced to commit crimes by terrorists that are holding her parents, the rulers of Markovia, hostage. But after listening to her story, Raven thinks she's a little sus. However, in spite of that, the Titans take up Terra's plea and track down the terrorists threatening Terra, but they reveal that her parents have been dead all along. Terra snaps at this and creates an earthquake, but Changeling manages to talk Terra down, empathizing with her, stating his parents also died and he pulled through, and that Terra isn't alone because he's here. It's real touching, but Raven still thinks Terra is sus because she is feeling the wrong emotions. Some things to note in this one include Changeling mentioning he spent $1 million of his dad's money to hire the best consultants to come up with a new name, yet people still call him Beast Boy. And of course they do, because it's a better name. Get a refund. We also find out some things about Terra. First off, her name is actually Terra. Go figure. And she wasn't born for powers. She also mentions having a brother who will be relevant later. Some character moments in this one include a scene where Raven is meditating to figure out what is wrong with her because recently she's not being able to dispel pain. Instead, it lingers within her, hurting her, and may very well kill her. And as she meditates, she finds a cold, dark, menacing wall within her, but is interrupted before she can go further. Here, we also have Wally West continue to whine about how difficult it is to be Kid Flash and be a student, which honestly should be made exceedingly easy due to the fact that he can study at light speed. I mean, look, all the Titans have their personal problems, but they're not all bangers. It's also noted that he envies Dick for being able to juggle so many things and do everything perfectly. Issue 29. After their recent slaughter at the Temple of Brother Blood, the Brotherhood of Evil are flying to New York to capture Raven, who they believe has the knowledge necessary for them to overcome Brother Blood. But their plane gets sabotaged and they crash. But of course, it's later revealed that the Brotherhood survived and they killed their pursuers. Here, we also see that Brother Blood and Bethany Snow are preparing a plan to ratify an agreement between Zandia and the United States. Back at Titans HQ, Dick is basically torturing himself in an effort to reach his ideal of perfection. But Donna, seeing this, thinks he's trying to do too much. He's only human and he has to stop. Meanwhile, Corey thinks it's something she did to make him like this, and Donna tries telling her that this is unhealthy and she shouldn't live just for him. Besides, Dick is going through some stuff, so she really should just leave him alone for now. Cutting over to Wally and Raven, he's still telling her that he's in love. But like we know, Raven is denied emotions, otherwise the part of her, which is Trigon, could burst free, so she tells him to move on, reiterating how hard it is to control her darker side, and that if he wants advice, she advises him to leave the Titans, return to school, and forget her, because if he stays here, she will be the death of him. As for Gar, he's asking Terra about some of the holes in her story, namely why she didn't try to fight back against the terrorists, or how she didn't know her parents were dead if her dad is a king, like it would be in the news, you know? But Terra doesn't feel like answering and just shoves him off. At this point, Frances Kane, again in possession of her unwanted magnetic powers, comes to Titan's Tower to see Kid Flash. Here she explains that she was hoping he could help her get rid of her powers. But just then, the Brotherhood of Evil attacks, leading to a fight with the Titans who were at the tower, aka Raven, Kid Flash, and Speedy, who is still hanging around. Speedy and Francis manage to stop them, but not before Phobia causes Raven to see Kid Flash as Trigon, causing her to almost kill him in turn. On the bright side though, he's no longer in love with Raven. Unfortunately, he's now terrified of her and hates her. Interesting things to note in this one is that Wally said Raven's soul and Trigon's were like one. Wally also claims in this issue to not want his powers, which is absolutely insane. He really stays and moaning about how hard it is to go to school and be one of the fastest men alive. There's also a moment here in which a girl thought Starfire didn't have eyes, which is pretty funny, and makes it more noticeable that the cartoon gave her pupils. Finally, I want to make it clear that Roy is absolutely the best part of this issue. First off, Tara yelling at Speedy was pretty funny. "Hi guys, how's it going?" "You shut up too, Archer." "Yeah, I guess it will be a nice day if it doesn't rain." Like, he's really just catching strays for no reason. Oh, and for the record, Roy starts thinking he's Mr. Steal Girl. First off, he starts flirting with Starfire, telling her to forget Robin, leading Robin to tell him to back off, with Roy saying, "My bad, I didn't know you had a bill of sale." And later, when Cyborg says Wally and Francis go way back, he says, "So? That never stopped me before." Roy is something else, man. Some character moments here include Donna feeling uncomfortable seeing Terry's daughter because she saw family in her, and no matter what happens between her parents, at least she knows who they are, which is more than she could say about her parents. She reflects that sometimes she feels she is denying her emotions, and that not knowing who she is does that to her. That sometimes she feels she doesn't belong, and resolves to do something soon. She can't keep denying her heritage. She has to know what she truly is. Next, when they were visiting Chase, Robin is all business, but Starfire tries saying they can still enjoy simple pleasures. Finally, Gar wants Tara to be a Titan, but Tara doesn't want to join. Issue 30. So on the cover, it says Tara joins the Titans, and I just want to point out that this is literally one issue after she said she won't join the Titans.
Make up your mind, you either with us or you ain't.
So we kick off with Wally West thinking Raven is evil, and like, bro was traumatized. This in turn leads to Francis suggesting she and Wally just go back to Blue Valley, to which Roy suggests just become a reserve or part-time Titan like him. But before Wally could decide, the plot kicked in because the Brotherhood of Evil get back up and they just dominate round 2 due to catching the Titans off guard. Getting back to Gar, he continues to question why Tara couldn't just overpower the terrorists with her powers instead of playing along, but Tara doesn't want to talk about it. She then reveals a new costume and asks if she's Titan's material. And I just want to point out, the 15-year-old wearing short shorts is not a good look. I'm telling you this because I'm afraid Robin has started a terrible fashion trend. At least 1966 Robin had leggings. Anyways, speaking of the man, we cut to Robin and Starfire working with D.A. Chase to go see Bethany Snow, who offers to give information about blood if they can offer her protection. Obviously, however, this is actually a triple cross, since she is still working for blood and this is all part of his plan. Next, Cyborg goes to see Sarah Sims, but finds Mark Wright instead, a co-worker of Sarah Sims who claims to be her fiancé, something that distresses Cyborg, since he was hoping to become more than friends with Sarah. Afterwards, the Titans, sans Raven and Wonder Girl, regroup and discuss what's been going on. During this meeting, Changeling announces that he recruited Tara, and Robin says her powers might just come in handy, and approves, assuming she follows orders, making Tara officially the newest member of the Titans. And oh boy, what a member she is! We then find out Raven went to a church because she needed time to think, and here she's upset, asking why she can't love, hate, or feel. Why is she denied emotions all others possess? Unfortunately, Raven's solace is interrupted as the Brotherhood of Evil arrive to take her away. But while watching the TV, the Titans see Raven's battle interrupt the New Year's celebration, leading the Titans to go back her up in the fight. And they show up in the nick of time to save Raven, who in the conflict has her soul self shattered. And the Titans go a little nutty here. Cyborg even uses his sonic cannon to blow Plasmias apart. But then Phobia turns the tide by using her powers on the crowd to cause a riot, giving them the opportunity to kidnap Raven and get away. The final page shows Kid Flash conflicted after Raven was taken, leading him to claim that he still loves her.
Oh shit, here we go again.
And we end off with Terry Long, who is celebrating New Year's with Donna, asking her to marry him. Also of note in this issue is that Chase says the drug czar they took down bought his way clear. And some character moments include the fact that Tara in this issue is continuing the trend of referring to Changeling as a bozo, which is not very nice. Also, there's a panel here of Robin just aura farming. Like, Starfire sees a photo of Blood torturing Robin and says, "Why didn't you tell me he did this to you? He could have killed you, Robin." And Robin just says, "He didn't." Like, okay, bruh, why you post it up like that? Issue 31. So we kick off with Robin asking where Raven is, and Kid Flash says, "I'm not sure. Besides, Raven almost killed me. She's not one of us. She's never been one of us. Forget her." Didn't he just say he loved her? I can't stand this guy, bruh. So anyways, Roy comes in and defends Raven, saying she was taken over by phobia when that happened. And Wally goes, "You're not a regular Titan. Why don't you take your blasted arrows and stick him?" And Roy's like, just like the old days, now I remember why I left. At this point, Cyborg has the good sense to say they can go fight at the tower in private. And while they all head off, Robin worries about them fighting amongst themselves and thinks maybe he's got too much on his mind and he should just leave and let Donna take over. Well, Wally, you guessed it, also thinks about leaving the team. I mean, this was inevitable. He already talked about loving and or hating Raven, so the only other thing for him to do is to complain about wanting to quit. So when the Titans get to the tower, Donna tells them about the marriage proposal, but she says she hasn't answered him yet, because she's always wanted to find out who she really was before she got married. And of course, Roy swoops in and says, "Hey, if you haven't given him an answer yet, remember, I'm available." Bro does not skip a beat. This moment of joy is short-lived, however, as they now need to go head for Zandia to rescue Raven from Brother Blood. Because if the Titans are known for anything, it's always prioritizing the rescue of their friends like Raven from fiends like Brother Blood. So, the Brotherhood is torturing Raven to try to reveal what she knows about Blood, knowledge she unconsciously absorbed when her soul self enveloped Blood during their previous encounter. So knowing Raven is an empath who thrives on the emotions of others, they make her see 1,000,000 souls suffering horrors, before she's made to see her father Trigon having killed all her friends. And in this illusion, she tries to save Wally, who's the only one left alive, but before she can, he screams, "No! She's evil, and he'd rather die before letting her cure him," before he dissolves into nothingness. And God, even the fake Wally sucks. I also want to make it clear, Wally, after he becomes the Flash, is a great character. But my goodness, it takes him forever to not be insufferable. Anyways, after this fails, they attempt to negotiate with Raven by spilling the beans on Brother Blood's plans, saying he's tampering with American elections to try to gain weapons which he can use to declare war, and that many will die as a result, but all this could be avoided if she helps them find the source of his power. And Raven agrees to try to help them. Just then, however, the Titans arrive in Zandia and start cleaning house. But strangely though, Raven, watching this, begins to be enthralled by the violence. Then, the Brain steps up and defeats all the Titans immediately. Raven sees this and thinks they're all dead, and her nightmare has come true, and she snaps. She taps into the power of Trigon and allows herself to hate, to revel in the emotions she's always denied. Luckily, Wonder Girl steps in and pleads with her, saying she's not her father, she can fight him, and that if she doesn't, she'll murder all her friends. And this snaps Raven back to her senses. She screams that she will not kill and is ultimately able to regain control. Some character moments in this one include Tara saying she feels like a fifth wheel, and like, dog, she's been on the team for like one issue. Also, on the plane, Starfire tries talking to Robin, saying he treats her like she's stupid, and she's not. And Robin admits he was treating her wrong, but then reinforces that he likes to be left alone when things go wrong. Issue 32. Fans of the cartoon will be well acquainted with these two, because this issue, as the cover suggests, is the debut of Thunder and Lightning. So, two people in costumes wreak havoc with their power over Thunder and Lightning. The twist, however, they can't control their powers. They're as much a victim as everyone else. Meanwhile, the Titans are on their way back from Zandia, and during this airplane ride, the Titans are all contemplative. Robin is thinking about quitting before finally realizing that it's getting to be too much, and that he might need a break. Kid Flash is thinking the same, speedrunning his only two conversation topics, going from I hate Raven to I hate being a superhero in record time. All this while Raven thinks she shouldn't be on the team due to being unable to control her powers. Right there and then, however, Speedy announces he's leaving. He was only a part-time Titan anyways, and he has to go back to his work with the drug centers. Finally, we rehash the Corey Dick subplot, with Starfire wondering if Robin even cares about her, due to him literally ignoring her. And to be fair, I'm also wondering the same. Bro went out with her and refused to talk to her since, and then acts like she's the problem. Luckily, Starfire decides she's not going to bother with Robin anymore, since literally everyone asked him what's wrong and he won't tell. So, it's up to him now. In perfect timing, because just then, Robin says he's taking a couple weeks off. Along with this, Francis, who I'm not sure I've mentioned has been here the whole time, leaves to return to Blue Valley. At this point, the Titans are summoned to deal with Thunder and Lightning, who are currently fighting the army. So, Donna leads the team into battle, although she does think Cyborg should be in charge instead, but Cyborg turns her down, saying he's still in his head about Sarah Sims' fiance, so Donna is the better choice. Regardless, after engaging Thunder and Lightning, the Titans fight for a bit before ultimately beating them. And after they surrender, Thunder and Lightning take the time to reveal their backstory. Basically, their dad was a military man who fell in love during the Vietnam War, but then he disappeared. They were born Siamese twins and separated by a shaman, but this resulted in them gaining their powers. But their powers can't be controlled, and it causes them great pain, and they need their father's blood to fix this. Unfortunately, the US government says there is no record of their father. After saying all this, Thunder and Lightning take off and head to a fishing village where there were reports of their father, and there they fight the Titans once again. But ultimately, Donna ends the fighting when she reveals that she did some research and found out that their father was a military scientist, but he did in fact disappear. Thunder and Lightning are disparaged by this information, so the Titans offer to bring them into Star Labs to see if they could help. After which, Donna reveals to the Titans that their father not only disappeared, but is wanted by the US government, and everything about him has been declared top secret. And that it's clear that there's something very wrong going on here, and they're going to find out what. Some character moments in this one include when Speedy tries to joke around and kiss Starfire goodbye, only to get thrown across the room. But his blatant sexual assault in pursuit of a joke seemed to be forgiven, as the Titans just laugh at Roy getting ragdolled. It's also revealed Tara wants to know what their real names are, but Robin says if they tell her their name, they'll also end up revealing the secret identities of those associated to them, like Batman, Flash, or Wonder Woman. There's also a scene where we find out Gar and Tara have plans to go watch a movie, and they invite Cyborg to go with them, but he turns them down. And later, when the Thunder Lightning stuff went down and they had to go to that instead, there's a really funny background interaction of Gar saying, Well, you wanted to be a Titan, and Tara saying, yeah, and I also wanted to see a movie. Guess which wins? That's gold. Finally, Star tries to reach out to Raven in this one, saying that even though their backgrounds are different and they haven't been all that close, she does like Raven and does want to help, which is nice to see. Unfortunately, Raven's problems aren't so easily solved. Issue 33. In this one, a supervillain named Trident is killed with his own weapon after 3 encounters with different groups of the Titans, leading the Titans to each tell the story of their encounters with him to see if they can figure out what happened. So Cyborg and Changeling tell their story first. Basically, they try to stop Trident from committing a robbery. Next, Raven and Wonder Girl say how they battled him at the Museum of Natural History. And finally, Kid Flash and Tara mention they pursued him to a drive-in theater after a jewelry heist. The only difference here seems to be that while some describe him as being cunning, others describe him as dumb, and he seems to have different powers each time. Starfire then says that each Titan duo had faced a different criminal. Tara immediately disregards this, calling Starfire stupid, something Cyborg and Donna think is out of line. This, of course, leads to Starfire's second speech about how just because she's unacquainted with this planet's customs doesn't mean she's stupid. After this, the Titans track the villains using the weapon from the dead Trident, and they figure out that his partners had killed him after he tried to withhold their shares of the loot. The 2 Tridents fight back, but the Titans, having intel on these guys, are quickly able to beat them. But while all this is going on, Robin and Adrian Chase are staging a break-in at the home of the drug czar, Anthony Scarapelli, after he previously got freed, because Robin doesn't need to follow the rules like Chase does. Some things of note in this one include blonde Jason Todd, which is a reminder to everyone that this takes place pre-crisis when Jason Todd was just Dick Grayson but blonde. Same circus backstory and everything. Also, Jason is too young to be a Titan, something that will change soon. As for character moments, we find out Cyborg didn't speak to Sarah when she called, continuing the trend of drama being manufactured due to people refusing to communicate. But as annoying as it is, this is entirely in character for Cyborg. But as for some good Cyborg character moments, when Cyborg rescues Changeling, he says, "Just don't tell the others I saved you. They may never forgive me." And when Guard tells the others, Cyborg says, "Well, what else could I do? He still owed me $5. Finally, it's of note that Wally and Tara both didn't care about the murder because the victim was a supervillain. And this is a subtle reminder to the fact that they are currently the worst members of the Titans. Speaking of those two, Wally and Tara have a chat in which he basically says, "I didn't even want you with me, and regardless of what the others think, I don't believe anything you told us." To which Tara replies by saying, "I may have stretched a point or two, but I never lied. You don't know what it was like. My dad's wife hated me and I couldn't stay in Markovia. Then I was held by terrorists that kept me drugged so I couldn't escape. I used to go to bed crying. I wanted to kill myself, but I was always so scared. This is my big chance. Don't say anything that'll get me thrown out of the Titans. Please." And this tracks with her earlier interactions in this issue, in which she seems very desperate to not get kicked out of the Titans after an incident at the pool. And it doesn't go over my head that she says she was drugged and couldn't escape, which is something she didn't tell Changeling when she asked why she didn't escape. So either she's revealing more details, or she's trying to fix the holes in her story. Either way, it seems he bought it because after Tara used an underground water main to put out a fire before there was panic, Wally said that regardless of whatever he thought of her in the past, she's proven herself. Issue 34. The Titans throw Tara a surprise birthday party, but she's still upset that they won't reveal their identities to her. And at a certain point, just be better, right? Honestly, I'm pretty sure Robin and Kid Flash are the only ones who wear masks, and at least 3 of them have very distinctive traits. I'm sure you can figure it out. Regardless, while this is going on, Robin and Chase raid Scarapelli's home. However, the raid was borderline illegal, and Chase only brought Robin along due to his status as a legal deputy. Cutting back to Wally, he announces that he has decided to leave the Titans to concentrate on college.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Jerry.
And Donna accepts Terry's proposal, but she says she wants to wait a few months before the wedding to see if she can find her real parents first. Meanwhile, Cyborg continues his most annoying character trait, which is refusing to talk to people when something happens. AKA, he is ignoring Sarah Sims' calls because he found out she's engaged. Unfortunately, it's revealed she's not engaged because Sarah broke up with Mark a year ago, and he has been merely stalking Sarah. Oh boy, man, if only there was some way this situation could have been avoided. If only there was some way for Sarah Sims to communicate the truth to Cyborg. I mean, it's not like Cyborg ditching his friend who he wasn't even romantically involved with because he found out she was engaged was already bad enough, right? It also had to turn out that it was all a big misunderstanding. You know, for such a smart guy, Cyborg's an idiot sometimes. To be honest, it's very frustrating. But at this point the plot kicks in and Deathstroke hits up the Titans, saying to hand themselves over to him or else he will kill a stockbroker. Seeing this as an opportunity to prove herself, Tara knocks out Changeling and goes to fight Deathstroke on her own. And I ain't gonna lie, Tara is effective. She comes in swinging, and she hits hard, to the point that Slade is saying she might be better than all the other Titans. And he starts thinking about how her attacks would probably cripple any ordinary man. At this point, however, the other Titans show up, and they just start ragdolling him. I mean, they got scores to settle, especially Changeling, who was almost killed by Slade. But Slade starts hitting them with the weave, and at this point, Kid Flash, cracking under the pressure of being a hero, gets caught and held hostage. But Tara no-diffs the situation. Ultimately though, Slade blows himself up rather than being captured. And with this, the Titans decide Tara has proved herself, and they'll tell her everything tomorrow. But then, everything changes. The lighting is different, the shading goes crazy, and Tara reveals this has all been a setup. She is working for the man who sent the terrorists to kidnap her, and has been planted in the group as a double agent to betray them. Tara is a traitor, the Judas of the group, and the man she's been working for is Slade Wilson, Deathstroke. What a great reveal! The final scene of this issue is Robin yelling at Adrian Chase for breaking the law during the raid before storming out. But right after he leaves, Adrian's apartment explodes. What a banger issue. Annual 2. This issue picks up right where the last one left off, with Chase being rushed to the hospital in critical condition. As it turns out, this attack had destroyed numerous apartments and has plunged Scarapelli into hot water with his superior, leading to him to ask for help from the Monitor. Yeah, that Monitor, like the Crisis Monitor with his assistant Lila. So yeah. Also, you know Lila from Arrow? Her. Yeah, this is actually their first appearance. But regardless, we get an update to the status of the people in the explosion. Notably, Chase's wife and 2 children were declared dead, and Chase was declared brain dead and has left the country to recuperate. But now, Robin is on a warpath, threatening Scarapelli, saying he's gonna be hounding him till Scarapelli is in the electric chair, proving just how serious he is taking this, since he not only wants him arrested, he wants him to get the death penalty. And yet Joker is chillin'. At this point, Starfire comes through and tells Robin to show restraint, something he once told her. Robin, however, tries to claim this isn't her business, but Starfire says his business is her business, before pointing out that Robin used to be warm, caring, and fun, but has since shut everyone out of his life and that they are only trying to help him. Then, it cuts away to show someone has started killing mob members with a sniper. Next, we find Robin holding a conference with the Titans, saying he needs their help to catch Scarapelli, especially since he now has a court order preventing him from getting close to him. Robin basically says he wants them to bend the rules a bit, saying the ends justify the means, which you might notice is something Chase told Robin. Donna tries to set him straight though, and says they will only help him legally, and they start hitting up all the mob's illegal operations, but they're unable to find any ties with Scarapelli. Donna at this point is upset because they were invading those places by breaking and entering, and Robin wouldn't let them report anything to the police, with it dawning on her that what Robin is doing is badgering Scarapelli, and she doesn't want anything to do with these tactics. But Robin is Robin, so instead of getting into a useless argument, she just leaves. And while she's leaving, she wonders if there's any need for the Titans, thinking that she's gonna be married soon, so maybe she should just leave this all behind and get on with her life. Now, remember how Scarapelli asked for some help from the Monitor? Well, the help came in the form of the most literally named mercenaries possible being recommended to him. Namely Scorcher, who burns people alive, Spear, who you'll never believe this, spears people, Bazooka, who, oh come on, you get it, as well as Slasher, Tanker, and finally Cheshire. And oh boy, that last one is huge, because Jade here is an assassin slash mercenary who will be a thorn in the side of the Titans for years to come, as well as quite possibly a little bit more. But that's a story for another day. Cutting back to the main plot though, we see the Titans' perspective on this mission is about what you would expect, with reactions ranging from frustration they can't catch Scarapelli, to Changeling not thinking these assignments are fun, to some saying Robin is depending on them, to Donna thinking they want to avenge Chase too. While Wally continues the trend of being the worst person on the team, which is a hard feat considering they have a literal traitor on the team, and thinks that this is a Robin problem and that they shouldn't be dealing with this.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Now, the assassins get to the Titans, and honestly, fire, spears, and bazookas in a closed space actually do go kinda hard. And with Inferno's raging, assassins attacking, and Cyborg's leg blown off, the Titans are kinda in a bad position. Now, Bazooka is about to kill Cyborg while reveling in killing a quote-unquote colored boy, but this rightly ticks off Donna, who steps in only for Tanker to come through and break her bones. Starfire has the bright idea to use a water tower to put out the fire, but Cheshire stops her, while also stating that she thought she was the stupid one and was surprised by her good plan. And again, it's been reiterated numerous times how her being perceived as dumb is just an offensive stereotype based on her not understanding the culture and has nothing to do with their intelligence. So to see the people of the general public believe that she's stupid kinda sucks. Regardless, Cheshire is literally throwing Starfire around. Meanwhile, Slasher is about to make mincemeat of Changeling when she gets her brains blown out. Then Cyborg turns the table on Bazooka and causes him to literally blow himself up. And Donna gets fed up and smashes Tanker, who is a robot, to bits. After which, she thinks that stopping psychos like Tanker from inflicting his insanity on people is the reason she does all this. Finally, Kid Flash takes care of Spear, who really kinda did nothing if I'm being honest, but not all the assassins are down, cause Scorcher is still here and lying in wait to burn Kid Flash alive. But before he gets the chance, Scorcher gets told to stand down. He refuses naturally, but the mystery assailant kills him, saying he gave him a chance, which is more than Scorcher ever did for his victims. Star, on the other hand, is getting circles run around her by Cheshire, until Kid Flash steps in to help, but Cheshire uses her poisonous claws to take him down, saying it will kill him in minutes. The sniper guy, though, does try to get a headshot on Cheshire right there and then, but misses. So Cheshire takes the opportunity to hit feet. And at the nick of time, Raven, who has been missing this whole time, returns to help. And if you're wondering where she was, Raven was trying to cleanse her soul of Trigon's dark influence by returning to Azarath, only to be turned away, because the people of Azarath, since the very beginning, have been the absolute worst. Because let us not forget that they created Trigon and refused to lift a finger to stop him, while also refusing to help people in need due to their rules. But still, Raven returns in time to heal Kid Flash of the poison, in spite of the risk that she might release Trigon in doing so. After this, the Titans regroup. Changeling is out of commission, and Donna thinks Robin is emotionally compromised and turning them into vigilantes. But Star holds fast in thinking Robin has never steered them wrong before. At this moment, Robin gets a message from Chase telling him of a meeting Scarapelli is going to hold in which he plans to kill his superiors before they can kill him, since they are tired of the problems he has brought to the mob. So Raven rushes to warn them, but Scarapelli comes through with a whole army provided by the Monitor, and they just rain down fire, turning the desert into a valley of death. And with Raven surrounded by death, this tears away yet another part of Raven's soul. But right then, the Titans step in and start fighting both sides, and Scarapelli returns home, only to be confronted by the Vigilante, who's talking about how he won't escape and there is nothing he can do. Scarapelli, in turn, tries running, screaming, "Who are you?" but is slowly hunted down, while the Vigilante tells him this is recompense for all the laws he's broken, all the victims he's created, all the dreams he's crushed, before revealing himself as Adrian Chase. It proceeds to say, "Adrian Chase is dead. I am the Vigilante." But suddenly, Robin shows up. He pieced it together because he's a detective, and reveals he knows Chase was the one who killed the assassins, and tells him that if he truly believes in the law like he says he does, then he has to let Robin take Scarapelli to trial, and that if he shoots him, he's as bad as he is, leading Chase to say, maybe. But Scarapelli, seeing an opportunity here, tries to shoot them, only to be gunned down by Chase himself, with Chase responding, but maybe not. And on the final page, Robin, who has recovered from being shot, lies and says he doesn't know who killed Scarapelli. And there it is, folks, the Vigilante. Over the numerous TV adaptations, public perception of the Vigilante has shifted from Arrow making Chase and Vigilante separate characters, to Peacemaker making Vigilante a moron. So it's interesting to see the original version of the character. Also, I should point out, we won't be seeing more of Chase, since around this point Vigilante got his own series. Now, some character moments in this one include when Tara was about to die, she willed herself to keep going because she still needs to finish her assignment for the Terminator, giving a little bit of insight on her relationship, seeing as she is willing to go this far for his sake. Also, Tara, after smothering some criminals with her powers, says how it reminds her of how she used to bury her brother in the sand, which serves to remind us yet again that she has a brother. Next, Starfire thinks about how she feels useless before attributing it to Dick making her feel that way by ignoring her. And honestly, it's getting harder and harder to defend that guy. If Robin really doesn't want to let her in, then he should stop stringing her along, because all it's doing is messing with her head. Finally, Kid Flash seems to be running slower, leading him to wonder if he's losing his super speed. Also, I would be remiss to mention, but the Monitor was helping out Scarapelli because he was apparently testing heroes and villains before Crisis on Infinite Earths. Something that is coming soon. Oh, and that satellite that was watching Starfire and Raven, that was also the Monitor, and he was the one who gave the bomb to those terrorists. Issue 35. The issue starts off with Cyborg and Gar horsing around, but this ends up knocking Raven off a balcony, But strangely, she doesn't teleport to safety, revealing that she's afraid to use her powers because every day she feels Trigon's power growing within her. Cyborg offers to help, but Raven says he can't help, but that she appreciates the offer. Now, on another note entirely, we have Gar asking Cyborg if he has spoken to Sarah Sims, but of course he hasn't. And at the same time that this conversation is occurring, on the other side of town, Mark is accosting Sarah on the street, talking about how they are engaged. But Sarah states that they're only friends, and besides, he's getting married. But then he kinda starts breaking down and says he doesn't want to talk about that and that he needs Sarah. A police officer intervenes at this point, but Mark takes his gun and proceeds to take Sarah and an entire sporting goods store hostage at gunpoint, even going as far as to shoot the cashier when he tries to stop him. He then takes a rifle from the store and immediately starts shooting at the cops. So Sarah calls Gar and tells him to tell Victor that it's an emergency. Cyborg immediately pulls up but gets shot. And moments later, Raven and Changeling show up too, with Raven healing Cyborg at the potential risk to herself, before finally passing out from the endeavor. Here, Changeling tries to sneak into the store and overhears Sarah asking Mark about his fiancée, and he says she died, but doesn't say how. He then spots Gar and starts brawling with him, before telling Changeling to stand down or else he'll start killing people, and that he also wants a helicopter. Back outside, Raven, who has since gotten back up, teleports into the store, saying she is not going to use force of any kind on Mark, but that she will use her powers to help the cashier he shot. And afterwards, if he lets her, she can use those same powers to help him. Cutting back to Cyborg, we find him lamenting how all this could have been avoided if he hadn't been a jerk and just listened to Sarah. Thinking about how he didn't listen to her because he was scared she had dumped him. But if they get through this, he's gonna tell her how much he cares. He then starts cutting through the roof to make a way inside, and from here he begins to eavesdrop on the conversation going on between Raven and Mark, in which she asks him if he killed his fiancée Maddie. But he says he doesn't want to talk about it, that he just needs Sarah to replace Maddie because he needs someone to love him. It's also made pretty clear that this need to be loved stems from his parents putting him up for adoption, but not any of his brothers or sisters, which made him feel unloved. Now, Raven and Sarah continue to try to de-escalate the situation, but Mark starts wigging out and is about to shoot them when Cyborg steps in and melts the gun. Mark then blames Cyborg for Sarah rejecting him just like Maddie did. At which point, they find out Maddie isn't dead. She's just dead to him. And he says he just couldn't deal with people leaving him before breaking down and begging God for forgiveness, ultimately collapsing in Raven's arms, who says God will forgive him, but only once he can forgive himself. Issue 36. Remember Thunder and Lightning? Well, Star Labs is attempting to cure them of their powers, because they will die if they aren't cured. Unfortunately, the tests are unsuccessful and the machine explodes, leading to the brothers going berserk and fighting the Titans. Which in turn gives us this panel of Starfire's electrocuted hair. She looks like Marge Simpson on a bad hair day. Anyways, after the fight, Raven offers to use her soul self to try to find their father. Donna warns her of the risk of not being able to control her powers, but Raven says that while every day her powers are more difficult to control, and there may indeed be a day where she is unable to resist Trigon, while she can, she wants to be able to be what she is. But Kid Flash is very clearly distraught by this. Nevertheless, Raven begins the process and finds out that their father is a prisoner of the Hive. But during the process, something goes wrong, and her soul self goes berserk and starts attacking all the Titans. But Kid Flash manages to get her back to her senses. With the dust settled, it's decided Wally will stay to watch over Raven, while the others will head off to go confront the Hive. and find Gan and Tavis' father. Gan and Tavis is Thunder and Lightning, by the way. Now, on the plane, Thunder and Lightning revealed that while they were in Raven's soul self, they were able to speak to their father, and that he explained who he truly is. That the man who called himself Walter Williams was actually an extraterrestrial being who had been the sole survivor of a crash landing on Earth 600 years ago, and who had returned to Vietnam, the site of the crash, in the guise of an American soldier to retrieve his spaceship. He was almost killed when he accidentally triggered the ship's security devices, but he made his way back to American-held territory, and it was there that he met and shared a romance with the Vietnamese woman who became the mother of Gan and Tavis. It's also revealed he is currently a prisoner of the Hive and under their control, and that they have secretly kept him locked up for 20 years. And it was because of him that the Hive flourished, and that without him, they would be just like any other criminal organization. Returning to the present, the Titans arrive at the Hive facility, and for the first time, we are able to see Gan and Tavis' father, and he really is monstrous. The alien father tries telling them to run, but it's too late as he is being forced to attack the Titans. In Loki, he is kinda just running through them. Honestly, if the Hive sent this guy instead of Ravager, the Titans would Loki have been finished. With the Titans defeated, Thunder and Lightning are in a pickle. They can't let their father kill the Titans, but they also don't want to fight their own father. But the father tells Thunder and Lightning to stop him before he's forced to kill the Titans and become a murderer. As such, Thunder and Lightning realize they have no choice and are forced to kill their own father. Afterwards, Star Labs uses their father's blood to cure them, and now being able to control their powers, they plan to return back to their mother's homeland to tell their mother how much they and their father loves her. Some character moments in this one include Kid Flash worried that when Raven finally flips out, she's gonna destroy them all, but that the others refuse to see this, which is half the reason why he's quitting. This is funny because he's been complaining for 35 issues about wanting to quit, but he still hasn't done it. Next, Robin thinks that after running off with Chase and breaking laws, he has no right to be the leader, and that he is just hurting the Titans' reputation. Finally, I just want to point out that Thunder and Lightning are able to telepathically communicate with each other, which is something their father was also able to do. Issue 37. This one is a crossover between the New Teen Titans, Batman, and the Outsiders. It kicks off with Gizmo breaking the Fearsome Five out of prison. Afterwards, while reading a newspaper talking about how Dr. Jace is in America, Mammoth and Shimmer explain how when they were children in Australia, they were taken to Dr. Jace in order to learn how to better control their powers, and that she has since perfected a method of genetically infusing people with great powers. And as such, Simon decides that the group should kidnap Dr. Jace in order to endow themselves with even more powers than before. Light, like always, tries to assert his authority here, but Simon has him outmatched. So as it stands, it seems like the Fearsome Five have a new leader. Meanwhile, at Titan's Tower, the Titans were in a meeting when Tara asks when the Titans are going to tell her their secret identities. Kid Flash in response vouches for her, and Donna agrees, but right before they revealed their secrets, Tara's bracelet started buzzing, and she pretended to not know what that was about, leading to Donna saying that this is why they hesitate to tell her everything, because she isn't straight with them. Tara in turn says, "Yeah, like the witch has been? Forget it, lady, I don't have to say nothing about my personal life," and she leaves. Here, we find out that the bracelet is an alarm that tells when Dr. Jace is nearby, and Tara's worried that if the Titans meet Jace, she can reveal the truth about how she got her powers. And if the Titans figure out she's been lying, they might be able to piece together that she's really working with the Terminator. When Tara gets to Jace's location, however, she finds a burning building and the Outsiders. Naturally, as with all superhero meetups, a brawl breaks out, made even worse when the Titans show up to back up Tara. Eventually, however, some of the heroes start recognizing each other and they stop fighting. And at this moment, a member of the Outsiders named Geoforce steps up, and to everyone's surprise, he reveals himself as Terra's brother. And with this, some holes start being poked in Terra's story. Like he questions why she disappeared, and Terra almost blows her cover before she remembers she was being held hostage. Also, there's the fact that they have the same costume, in spite of the fact that Terra claimed to have sewed up her own costume. But before they can question any further, everyone remembers why they were there in the first place, and they begin searching for Dr. Jace. And during their investigation, they find signs that the Fearsome Five must have taken her. Upon realizing the Outsiders are led by Batman, the Titans decide maybe it's time to call both leaders here. But as luck would have it, Batman and Robin are together at that moment, and Dick is telling Bruce how he's not a kid anymore. He's 19, and after going against the vigilante, he realized that his idea of justice and Bruce's have become radically different. Bruce thinks he wants to end their friendship, but Dick clarifies he only wants to end their partnership as Batman and Robin. Hearing this, Jason Todd steps in and says he wants to be Robin, but Grayson clarifies that he isn't ready to give up the mantle. Just then, Alfred walks in and informs them that they are being summoned by their respective teams. Cutting back to the Fearsome Five, who are in New Jersey of all places, Dr. Light tries to intimidate Dr. Jace, but she's neither shaken nor stirred. Then Simon steps in and begins torturing her with his mental powers, while talking about how he can separate her atoms or boil the blood inside her, not to mention kill her. And with this, Jace breaks, in the process cementing Simon's superiority over Light in the struggle for leadership. Speaking of a struggle for leadership, the now no longer partnered Batman and Robin begin their team up, in their own struggle for leadership. Batman mentions Jace was likely kidnapped by the Fearsome Five before turning to Robin and saying, "You haven't been able to stop them, have you?" Robin in response says, "Not true, the Titans put them behind bars. They escaped. The Titans do their job." With Batman saying he wasn't implying they don't. But like, what were you implying then with a statement like that? Regardless, right then the police captain contacts them and begins speaking to Robin. Batman tries to step in, but Robin cuts him off and continues speaking with the captain, who reveals that they found men who were turned into mud-like creatures. This leads them to speculate that perhaps if Jace gave Brion and Terra their powers, then maybe she was forced into making the mud-like creatures. So Raven used her powers on the Mudmen and discovers where Jace was. But of course they aren't there anymore. They do, however, find some manufactured elements, and Starfire remembers Simon used to have a private lab outside Gotham. And it is here that they find the Fearsome Five performing a quote-unquote medical experiment. And with this, the fight begins. There's some interesting matchups here, like Halo realizing her light powers are useless against Dr. Light, and Shimmer transmuting Cyborg's arm. But then the Mudmen are unleashed. And while the Titans are distracted, Simon uses his psionic powers to detonate explosives that end up destroying the island and killing all the heroes. The second part of this crossover takes place within the pages of Batman and the Outsiders, issue 5, and starts with the heroes' final thoughts as they drown. Batman says he knew he'd die, but expected Robin or the Outsiders to take over, and now he wonders who will protect Gotham. Meanwhile, Robin thinks about how they're all dying because he failed as a leader. Terra, on the other hand, thinks about finding a way out of this situation, and uses her powers to create a platform before passing out. But Geoforce sees what she was planning and tries to finish the job, thinking about how the strain of doing so may very well cost him his life. But if he lets his friends and sister perish, then he does not deserve to live. Ultimately, he succeeds, with the narrator saying how apparently he does deserve to live. With everyone saved, Halo is worried about Changeling, who isn't moving, but then he suggests mouth to mouth, which pisses her off because he was just faking. Of course though, Batman steps in and puts an end to their fighting, and starts planning the next move. Something that irritates Robin, who feels that every time he steps out on his own, Batman steps in and it's back to being the boy wonder. Moving on, we find Light trying to control the Mudmen, but he finds out that the Mudmen and the rest of the Fearsome Five only follow their true leader, Simon. Light then tries to argue that he's the one who made the group, but Shimmer points out that every time they have followed Light, they've ended up in prison. And with this, they all turn on Light, and Simon sends the Mudmen to attack him, but Light manages to escape. Meanwhile, the heroes are enjoying some downtime as they recover. Halo shows Raven her room, who says it's filled with light and joy, while thinking that these are two things her upbringing denied her. Then Halo asks if Donna is really Wonder Woman's sister, but Donna says that she is her foster sister, and that she doesn't know who she really is. Halo, as someone who doesn't know who she is either, asks what happens if she never finds out, but Donna replies that it won't change, that she's still someone special, and so is Halo. Although I will point out that in spite of these insightful comments, the whole not knowing who she is thing is something that will continue to eat at Donna in the future. Next, we find Wally asking Black Lightning about why he had previously quit the hero game. Black Lightning says it was because a bystander died during one of his fights with some no-goods. This clearly shocks Kid Flash, who asks how he could live with that, but Lightning says he couldn't until Batman convinced him he could do some good if he came back. Which will likely give Wally something to chew on, especially since he's always whining about wanting to quit the Titans because he can't deal with balancing his schoolwork with his hero life, while Black Lightning is still here after dealing with real problems. Not to diminish the plight of anyone who has trouble balancing their work lives, but the man has super speed, you know? Starfire at this point talks to Wally, mentioning how she doesn't like how Batman treats Dick. Wally says he doesn't like it either, but Robin has been Batman's sidekick for years, and that kind of attitude is hard to change. Take it from Kid Flash. Which is an interesting comment, since Wally is someone who will have one of the most seamless hero transfers likely ever. But that's a different story. At this point, the team leaders call everyone in, with Batman saying they will begin by checking police broadcasts, but Robin cuts him off to alert everyone to a police broadcast that is talking about Dr. Light. Batman immediately tells everyone to move out, leading Robin to think, yeah, don't say thanks or anything, I wouldn't want to spoil your image. But as it turns out, the broadcast was about Dr. Light fighting off both Simon and the Mudmen at the same time. The heroes show up and help fight off Simon, but not before he zaps Light. Light, still alive however, downs Starfire, literally dropping her on her head. So maybe, if she's stupid after this, we know why. Next, Light uses his powers to mind control Halo, which works since he controls Light and she is Light, you get it. But Raven subdues Halo with her soul self, while Black Lightning captures Light. Honestly, it was a very short-lived escape attempt. While all this is going on, the Fearsome Five have taken over the Empire State Building, with Simon planning on using his powers to control every mind in New York City. But the Titans have made a device that prevents Simon from dominating them, and proceeds to figure out what the Five are up to thanks to information from Dr. Light. But they find out a little late as Simon activates his plan and takes over the minds of 8 million people, leading the heroes to be the only ones in New York not under his mind control. Now they are being attacked by the citizens of New York City, so Batman tells Katana, Starfire, and Halo to lead the defense against the civilians. But Robin interjects, saying Starfire's best on offense, not defense, and that they'll need Halo to put Simon away. Batman says Robin is out of line, but Robin says, the hell I am! I know the Titans better than you, and I know more about running a team than you. I won't let you endanger us all just because you like to be in charge, before proceeding to give out orders himself. With this new plan, the defensive battle ends up going well, leaving the heroes who were left behind to go and confront the Fearsome Five. During this fight, Terra attacks Shimmer, which causes Mammoth to attack Terra in order to defend his sister, which in turn causes Geoforce to attack Mammoth to defend his sister. But Shimmer, noticing that the two siblings are distracted after having beaten Mammoth, plans on transmuting them to death. But Metamorpho steps in and Shimmer's powers gets turned back on herself, which means she's quite possibly dead. Batman and Robin then take care of Gizmo before the heroes come together to break through Simon's force field and then trash his device. Simon, realizing the tables have turned, tries to make his exit, but Halo stops him. And with Simon asleep, the city wakes up. And afterwards, the heroes go back to Titan's Tower, only to find out Light escaped, but more than that, he left behind his costume with a note saying he quits. Then, Brion and Terra say their goodbyes, during which Terra worries about how Geoforce is now one of the Titan's friends, and how she has to betray them, but she doesn't want Brion to go down with them. But as Terra ponders that, we cut over to an interaction between Batman and Robin, with Batman saying Robin leads the Titans well, and how even the teacher can learn from his pupil, his former pupil. And Robin says, "Thanks, Batman, but you know what they say, a pupil's only as good as his teacher, and I had the best there is." And with this, the crossover comes to an end. But more than that, this also marks the end of the partnership between Batman and Robin, with Robin officially on his own after gaining the approval of Batman. Issue 38. Who is Donna Troy? This here is a phenomenal issue, and it starts off with a unique presentation style, kind of like one of those old detective movies. In this one, Terry gets Robin to investigate Donna's past because Donna has been trying to find out who her real parents are. She feels it's gonna make a difference in her marriage, even though it won't change anything for Terry. But still, it's important to her, so he's hiring Robin, who is the best detective he knows, to take up the case. Robin agrees, of course, but he is gonna get Donna's okay first. With this, he also wonders about why he didn't offer to help before, especially since he's known her for almost 8 years, since before they formed the first group of Teen Titans. He'd risk his life if it meant helping her, so the fact that he hasn't helped her with this, he really should have thought of it, you know? Later, Dick and Terry present their idea to Donna, but Donna thinks that this is just a lost cause. But Robin says it's worth a shot and asks her to tell him everything she can remember. It seems she only remembers smoke and fire and the bodies of what she thinks were her parents. Then she was rescued by Wonder Woman. Robin proceeds to question if they checked her past before bringing her to Paradise Island, and she says they tried, but the apartment wasn't rented, and apparently nobody lived there. She then says how Wonder Woman became her legal ward. And Robin notes that that's the same as him and Batman, except they were never as linked as he was with his mentor. With Donna saying, yeah, Batman was more like your father, but Wonder Woman was more like my sister, since while she was off fighting crime, I was raised by Wonder Woman's mother, Queen Hippolyta. She also mentions how she wasn't one of the Amazons, so they gave her powers using the Purple Ray, and that she had a wonderful childhood. Side note, little Donna is so cute. But yeah, she then says that's all she remembers, before worrying about whether or not they should even do this, worried they might learn something that changes things. However, Terry says there's nothing they can learn that can drive them apart, and so Terry asks for Robin's fee, but Robin says, forget it Terry, this is my engagement gift. And Robin proceeds to think about how this experience made him see what Donna saw in an ordinary man like Terry Long. With this, the search starts, and they go back to the site of the fire. During this search, Robin is introspective, thinking of how helping Donna is making him forget his problems. He's been so confused lately, but his recent encounter with the vigilante made him realize he has certain values he wouldn't compromise, and his success in teaming up with the Outsiders proved that he didn't have to live in Batman's shadow forever. But while Robin is thinking, Donna comments on how she's glad this old apartment building is being torn down, since it was a constant reminder of what she missed. And Robin thinks, damn, what she missed. I guess it's hard for everyone to shake off past tragedies and move on into the future. But back to the matter at hand, Robin had discovered there were hidden rooms in the blueprints of this apartment. In one of those rooms, he finds a coal bin with a box inside, and in the box is a doll. Donna immediately feels strange, like it's the most important thing in her life, and that even though she can't remember it, it makes her feel good. Later, Robin questions the landlord about who was living in that apartment and why a doll was in the coal cellar. They just say that Sam, one of the former landlords, rest his soul, was a creep who was always involved in something bad. And so, Donna thinks it's hopeless. All she's got are vague memories that mean nothing, and that she's got a past she has to leave behind, and it hurts. Mentioning that Dick lost his parents like she did, but at least he knows who they really are. She doesn't know what her mother called her, who her mother was, or her father, and she wishes that Robin hadn't begun this. Afterwards, Robin reflects on how when they first teamed up, he could have easily fallen in love with Donna. Now years later, he knows he did love her, more than he ever could if he were only her lover. So for her sake, he has to find her past. Reinvigorated, he goes to the lab and is able to piece together some scraps of fabric that were in the box, before finally discovering they spell out, "Hello, my name is Donna." He thinks, Donna? Then her name actually was Donna. Or perhaps that was the doll's name, or the name of the person who gave it to her. Either way, it was a clue, one more than I had before. Then he found faded lettering on the doll's legs, and after a day and a half of work, he managed to restore it. And it read, "From Uncle Max of Mystic Mountain, Newport News." Robin immediately wanted to tell Donna the good news, but decided against it. She's already had enough disappointments. No, he decided he would call her if he learned anything truly important. With this, he was able to track down Uncle Max, who was working at Mystic Mountain Toy Shop, and asks if he knows anything about this doll. And Max says, "Yeah, I worked on this doll. I repaired it. I used to repair all the damaged dolls and toys from the orphanage." But after Dick asks for an address, it's revealed the orphanage closed down some 15 years ago due to a child slavery scandal, leading Dick to think of how Batman always told him that one clue would open up another. And as usual, he was right, and he guesses that's why Batman's the best, and realizes how lucky he was to work with him. In checking the newspaper, Robin managed to find one mentioning an Elmira Cassidy found innocent of charges related to the child slavery scandal. But after going to her address, it turns out she doesn't live there anymore. Dejected, Dick goes back home and thinks about how sometimes when he's depressed, thinking of Corey would make him feel better, and how he wishes she were there with him, if only to apologize for the way he's been treating her these past few months. But his thoughts are interrupted by a man claiming to know where Miss Elmira is. As it turns out, this man was the gardener at the orphanage, and says that Elmira is a nice person who's at a nursing home in Florida. It seems she had a breakdown after the scandal, and that she never suspected that the lawyer was up to something so bad. With his lucky turn of fate, Dick calls up Donna and says he's got a lead. In driving up to Florida, Donna is nervous that for the first time, she's going to meet someone who knew her before the fire. She'll finally know her real name. But Dick points out that they don't know how much Elmira remembers. He just thought she would want to be there with him as he does this. Still, Donna is really nervous and wonders if she'll learn something she's better off not knowing. But Dick tells Donna not to worry as he's right there with her. To which she says, "Thanks, Dick, I love you for this." Now they end up finding Miss Elmira, but the staff tells them to have low expectations, since she hasn't said a full sentence since she got here some 10 years ago. They then ask if they are Elmira's family, to which Donna says, "Sort of." They then go talk to Miss Cassidy, but as expected, she doesn't respond. Finally, Dick shows her the doll, and she screams, "Donna!" And Donna says, "Donna, is that my name? Donna, that's me. Please tell me about my mother." And Elmira starts reminiscing, saying how her mother was pretty, but also sick and scared and alone for a baby. And a flashback shows Donna's mother telling baby Donna to think of her every time she hugs the doll. And Elmira says she then drove back to the hospital as the mother had cancer. And goes on to say how Donna never let go of that doll. They had to pry it from her when they gave her a bath. But that's all she remembers. They then ask what happened to Donna, and as it turns out, she was adopted by a couple named Mr. and Mrs. Stacy. And this information causes Donna to remember their faces and then think maybe they were the ones who died in the fire. But now, for the first time in her life, she has a name and she knows who she is. She thanks Dick for doing this and then thanks Mrs. Cassidy, saying she's made her so happy. Miss Cassidy then recognizes Donna and says, "Donna, you're still so pretty, still so young." And Donna says, "You're not gonna be alone here anymore, Mrs. Cassidy. I'm gonna visit all the time." And then they leave. And Donna starts thinking of how it's over. All their questions are answered. She knows who she is. Her real mother died and her adoptive parents died in the fire. And Dick thinks how Donna is positively giddy. But he still has questions. Namely, why they died in a room that wasn't rented. At this point, they are driving down the road when Donna starts remembering everything about this place, turning the car around and driving up to a house and going, "That's my house!" She's then shocked as she steps out, crying, thinking, "But the fire, the bodies." And the woman at the house, standing there in shock, says, "Who are you? Why are you? No, it's been too long, it can't be." "But it is, I know that face anywhere, it's you, Donna, Donna!" And they hug. And after thoroughly confusing the woman's family, they go inside, where they learn how Faye Stacy was now Faye Evans. And she tells her family how when she was still married to her ex, they adopted Donna. And how 2 years later, after her husband died in a job accident, they were broke. And the lawyer from the adoption agency said if she was bankrupt, the state wouldn't let her keep Donna, and that she would be adopted by other parents who would love and support her. And Faye asked Donna to forgive her. And Donna says she understands and is just glad she found her. But now she's beginning to remember more. Remembering being taken to a dirty room and crying all night because they took her doll from her. And then there was fire. And realized that the bodies must have been from the other people who adopted her. Only they weren't nice to her. They hit her and they tried to keep her quiet. Strangely, they seem to hate kids, which makes no sense why they would want to adopt some. Regardless, in the present, the Evans say how they've added a new member to the family and welcome Donna home. And Faye proceeds to show Donna a photo album of her past. And finally getting to see pictures of herself as a child, happy childhood memories with people who cared for her, memories she thought she would never be able to remember, let alone see. Dick takes the cue to leave. However, he's leaving because he still has questions. But now, he knows where to find the answer. He goes to visit the lawyer, Mr. Harrison, in prison. He knows Harrison was part of the child selling scam and wants to know who adopted which kids. Harrison then says he gave the kid, Donna, to his go-betweens who would pretend they were real parents. Only they were in an apartment Sam Channing let them use to sell kids for 20 grand when the furnace exploded and everyone died. And with this information, at last, it is over. Robin just had to know if the couple who died adopted Donna, but thankfully they hadn't. He has done his job and has never felt better in his life. Finally, we cut to Donna at a graveyard, where she is then able to put flowers on her mother's grave, telling her she had a wonderful childhood, but that she just really wanted to know who her real parents were, who she really was, and that she's so happy she found her. And she thinks how she went from having no parents to having so many, from Hippolyta to the Evans to her, and that she knows she loved her but was dying and couldn't keep her, and that Faye Evans loved her too, but now she's met someone else who loves her, and she's gonna make her own family, and that families belong together, and that now that she's found her mom, she'll be with her forever, and says so many families now, like her friends who are also her family. And then thanks Dick for bringing her here, before he shows her one last surprise. Uncle Max fixed the doll her mother gave her, and Donna hugs Dick and says she thinks she's gonna cry. The final scene is Dick back home looking at a picture of Corey before finally calling her up and asking if she's doing anything tonight. Wow, what a great issue. It really pulls on your heartstrings. I really don't even have the words to do this justice. But yeah, let's continue on. Issue 39. This one kicks off with the Titans launching an invasion of an Alaskan station of Brother Blood's cult. And high-key, this is one of the biggest stompings I've ever seen the Titans do. But they end up caught in an electric cage. But here, they use the same maneuver they used against Trigon to escape the cell, and then the Titans continued their assault. After which, it's revealed Tara was recording the entire thing to show to Slade. And while giving her report, she's just trash-talking the Titans. She reveals that the Titans had found evidence of Brother Blood's political backing of certain senators and congressmen, which they then turned over to the authorities. And finally, we get to the present. And here we see Tara as she truly is. A heavy makeup wearing, chain smoking, traitorous rat. And yes, she is walking around in a bathrobe. Yes, she is 15. Yes, it is creepy, but we'll talk more about her relationship with Slade later. Anyways, at this point, Tara finds a picture of Slade with his family, with Tara noting that she didn't know he was married, with Slade saying it was a very long time ago. The important thing to note here, in my opinion, is the fact that the picture clearly shows 2 sons. Obviously, we are well acquainted with Grant, but I tell you now, Slade's other son will be important in the time to come. After this, Slade and Tara have a mock battle to test each other's powers, during which Slade notes Tara is more powerful than she realizes, and she's only becoming more powerful. He notes that her attacks are faster. She's learned to fight with strategy, and at one point, she blasts lava at him, with Slade noting she doesn't have lava powers, so she had to have tapped into a volcano. But the nearest volcano is 900 miles away. She can't be that powerful, right? Before finally, her attacks start coming with no sense of movement or shifting of the earth, and Slade realizes she's too strong, and worse than that, she's playing for keeps. In the end though, the exercise ends with Slade still intact, after which he sends her back to the Titans. Tara, however, is impatient. She calls the Titans sanctimonious do-gooders and mentions how she just wants to kill them all. Cutting back to the Titans, Wally West walks in civilian clothing and reveals he's already told Tara he's Wally West. Robin picks up on what's going on and understands that Wally is leaving. Wally reveals that he seems to be losing his speed and that sometimes he feels out of place here. Also, Raven is definitely part of the equation here. However, he says he wants to return to college full-time. He then gives them his ring, where he keeps his costume, and says maybe he'll be back for it someday, maybe not. After this, Wally says his goodbyes, first to Donna, while saying how they'll all see him again at Donna's wedding, before saying goodbye to Cyborg, who notes that although they weren't that close, he will miss him. He He then tells Tara to not let him down, which that's not gonna age very well, before finally saying he'll come visit. Just then, however, Dick announces that just like Wally, he too wants to grow up a bit, so he's giving up being Robin. The Titans are shocked, but he says this is something he has to do, because Robin will always be the back half of Batman and that Robin belongs as Batman's partner. However, he's not leaving the Titans, he's just giving up the Robin identity, so for now, he's just Dick Grayson. He talks about how Robin used to be a kid making puns and swinging around with Batman, but if he keeps wearing the same costume he has since he was 8, he would just keep playing a role that he had long outgrown. Kinda like Earth 2 Dick Grayson, but that's neither here nor there. He continues saying he's a person with responsibility and not a happy-go-lucky kid partner, and that he is the leader of the Titans, so he can't be Robin anymore. He has to be someone, an adult. But while he doesn't have a costume, they will need a leader in the field, and that he votes for Donna. With this, Cyborg says what we are all thinking, and states, next time, don't wear short pants. With Gar chiming in saying, yeah, they may be cute, but Starfire's legs beats out yours a zillion to 1. Dick then goes on to tell Tara that she's proven herself, and that as a Titan, she has a proud tradition to uphold, and he's sure she's gonna do just fine. And he also gives her a kiss on the cheek. While this is happening, in the very same panel that says, thanks, I'll try to live up to the name Teen Titans, just like you guys, I promise. It's revealed she's recording them with a live feed, and Slade is watching. And when Wintergreen suggests that she might change her mind and side with the Titans, Slade says, that girl? Forget it, Wintergreen. She hates everything the Titans stand for. I tell you, old friend, she's the best little sociopath I've ever known. With Tara on our side, the Titans are as good as dead. And in the epilogue, Wally West leaves with Francis Kane, and Dick says he's gonna miss him. Some character moments in this one include Tara talking to Wally, in which she says, you're almost the only pal I got in this group, to which Wally says, come on, there's always Changeling, and Tara replies, there's always open heart surgery too, but you don't see me asking for that. Which is devastating to any Beast Boy Tara shippers. Let's just say their relationship isn't like the cartoon. Also, when Robin was taking off his costume, Tara was mocking him, saying, ooh, take it off, take it all off, which is pretty funny. Finally, we get to issue 40, the final issue in this series. And might I add, the cover goes hella hard, blood rising in a pool of blood and fire, with just the words, his name is Brother Blood. Hard as hell, bruh. So the final issue kicks off in Zandia with the cult of Brother Blood, where a ritual is underway from which Brother Blood rises from a boiling pool of the blood of his enemies, which is already such a hard flex, bruh. And this is a big deal for them, because they previously thought Brother Blood was dead. And with this, all his followers start chanting, Hail Brother Blood! Hail Brother Blood! Meanwhile, at the Dayton estate, Gar and Tara cause yet another tutor to quit. After this, they fly off to go join the Titans, during which Gar questions Tara's story, pointing out the inconsistencies in her story, like her sewing her own costume but Geoforce having the same one. But Tara tells him to mind his own business. Gar keeps at it though, saying he really likes her, and if that anything's wrong, to let him know, something Tara seems to consider. With this, they arrive at Bethany Snow's broadcast, in which she has an interview with the Titans. Donna tries to convince them that Zandia is a military dictatorship filled with mercenaries and thieves, and that they shouldn't be giving Zandia American weapons. However, Brother Blood calls in to retort, talking about how he believes in the concept of good life, and that he is a religious man, and that it is the president of Zandia who seeks weapons for his own uses. And he calls on them to join his church to make a difference and fight back against the tyrants that rule Zandia. While he speaks though, Raven notices that he's manipulating everyone with his words, and that even though Blood is the one who controls the president, the audience still believes him. As such, the audience unanimously agrees with Blood, leading the Titans to speak up about their first-hand accounts, with one of the panelists saying, "Since when do we believe alien beings over human beings?" when Starfire speaks up, which is just like, wow, okay. Regardless, the Titans blew it. Brother Blood is too charismatic. It appeals to emotions, not sense, and everyone who watched the interview ended up under his spell. But obviously, this was the plan from the beginning, since Bethany Snow works for Blood. Later, the Titans point out that to beat his charisma, they're gonna have to show the public the crimes he has committed, because they won't believe anything less. So, Dick Grayson deduces that the newly elected congressmen and senators who appeared on the program in support of Blood are actually his followers, rather than the politicians whose seeming affiliation with the villain had been revealed by the Titans' investigations in the previous issue. So, disguised as newsman Joe Walsh, Dick accompanies Bethany Snow and the three discredited politicians, who are trying to clear their name, on a fact-finding tour to Zandia, only to have his true identity uncovered by Blood's cult. Receiving an emergency signal from Dick, the other Titans head out in the T-Sub, and using Terra's powers, they invade Blood's temple, but are immediately knocked out by a gas attack. And they wake up as prisoners of Brother Blood, who's preparing to sacrifice them in a boiling pool of blood, before revealing that Dick Grayson was brainwashed and had purposely lured them into a trap. Finally, Blood reveals that he feeds upon the blood of his enemies and makes their strength his strength. In the final page is the Titans being lowered to their doom, knowing that their powers will soon belong to Brother Blood. Quite a place to end the series, but don't worry, the story continues in the next series, which I also plan on covering eventually. But yeah, with this we have finished the 1980 run of the New Teen Titans. I think it goes without saying that of the Titans series I've covered so far, this one was easily the best. And honestly, it's just gonna keep getting better. But with this, I think this video is long enough already. So, that's all I got for you today, folks. Be sure to smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.